Chapter 651, Amazing Speed of Preparation. Stephen is the second in the list of little red flowers. He is also a good student and got 16 little red flowers in the last semester. He was obedient in class. Lugo continued. Martin and Xinran got 16 little red flowers respectively, and the last ones who got 15 little red flowers were Liman, Wang Yihan. It was like a praise meeting. Every parent was affected by the lively atmosphere and hoped that their children would be praised. A few parents even forgot how many flowers their children had got and were looking forward to hearing their names, which was impossible. Okay. This is the difference between reality and imagination. After learning about their performance in the first semester, all of you now have a better understanding of your children. The first semester of junior class offered everyone an opportunity to get familiar with each other, in which the proportion of games was large. But in the second semester, the proportion of learning will gradually increase, and a small amount of homework will be given. I hope that all parents can encourage and praise your children more when they are studying hard. Lugo turned to smile at Zhang Han. In terms of encouragement and praise, I think Meng's father did a very good job. In the first semester, Meng got 18 little red flowers, the maximum number of flowers one child can get in a semester. What's the reason? It's that kind of expectation. Every child expects the praise or reward from parents after getting the little red flower, and you can consult Meng dad in private if you are interested in this common sense. Good. The flatterer was back. Li Kai's voice was louder than before, and then he took the lead to applaud again. Although Wang Jian and Martin's mother were confused, they decided to follow him and applaud. All the other parents were clapping again. Applause filled the classroom. Lugo was a little confused, because her speech did not warrant such a warm applause. Well, education should start from a young age, for children aged 3 to 6. The 3 years spent in kindergarten are very important. I hope that every parent can cooperate with us to educate your children, and that they can become talents in all aspects in the future. After Lugo introduced some related information and discussed precautions with the parents meeting ended. Zhang Han bid farewell to Li Kai and the others who followed him. He was very polite, smiling, like an ordinary person, which made Wang Jian, who knew a little about Zhang Han's real identity, sigh with emotion. As a powerful man, Mr. Zhang is still approachable. How nice he is. He knew that all the parents in the room, including him, were even unqualified to serve Zhang Han. It was their honor to chat with Zhang Han in this way. Just now, there were 2 other parents wearing Armani and Patek Philippe, asking Zhang Han how to teach Meng so well. They called Zhang Han younger brother Zhang to get closer to him, which confused Wang Jian, but he remained silent because he didn't know Zhang Han's thoughts. However, Li Kai, the flatterer, told the 2 men something about Meng's recreational restaurant after hearing their conversation. The 2 men were scared and immediately changed younger brother Zhang to elder brother Zhang. Zhang Han was still polite and patient with them. Wang Jian was surprised at his attitude. He didn't know that since Meng was going to spend 2.5 years in school, Zhang Han decided to help her get along well with the other children. Therefore, he temporarily changed his temper and tolerance to make a good impression on other parents. After leaving school, Zhang Han took out his mobile phone and called Xian. The parents' meeting is over and I'm coming back. Teacher Lu has praised Meng a lot. Well, I'll buy her an ice cream later. When Zhang Han went back home, he handed Meng an ice cream. Meng was very happy. She stood in front of Zhang Han's legs, looked up at him and blinked. Compared with ice cream, Meng preferred the reward and praise of Papa, although she still didn't understand it very well. Meng, Teacher Lu said that Meng did the best in the whole class, praised your father and mother, and other parents applauded you several times. Meng is father's good daughter. I'm proud of you, Zhang Han said with a smile. This is the ice cream for Meng, little hero of our family. Ha ha. Meng was overjoyed. Then she took the ice cream and enjoyed it in Zhang Han's arms. Hearing this news, Xian felt as happy as if she had won the prize. She rewarded Zhang Han with a charming smile. Zhang Han and his family were having a good time. However, there were discordant quarrels in the conference room of their company at the same time. Sun Ming had read the script and arranged for Ziyong to contact the historian. It didn't take Ziyong's men a long time to bring him 18 authoritative historians. They were very persistent and arrogant in the field of history. They had a heated debate in the conference room after reading the description of the costume and the scenes involved in the movie. According to the customs, the details of dress, the daily life, the navigation and military conditions described in the script, I'm sure that this is between the 16th century and the 18th century. It's too inaccurate. Mr. Ma, you've been studying our own history, but you may not be good at the history of the West and pirates. Piracy flourished in the 17th century, and I think it should be set in that era. No, no, no. Do you really understand it? I have been studying pirate culture for more than 10 years, and I know more about them than all of you. The term pirate generally refers to a person who commits a crime on the seas. In that era, anyone who stole or destroyed property in open waters could be judged as a pirate. At first, the pirates were all self-employed. Later, they became teams. We are talking about the era. Why do you mention so many useless things? To show off your knowledge. The Caribbean island is an ideal place for pirates, because there is a continuous flow of ships carrying treasures and goods. According to the description of the script, I think it should be at the end of the pirates' heyday, which can be seen from the mature military. This group of knowledgeable historians discussed for an hour intensely, and no one gave up. When they were thirsty, they remembered that they were in the meeting room of Purple Moon Entertainment Company to complete their superior's task. Therefore, they immediately changed their attitude. They began to really discuss the problem. 2 heads are better than 1, let alone all these authoritative historians. They spent 2 hours setting the social background of the film between 1720 and 1750. After the meeting, Sun Ming came to another conference room with the result of the discussion, where there were 13 people chatting. Seeing Sun Ming come in, all these men and women quieted down. Sun Ming opened his notebook and said, "We decided to set the movie between 1720 and 1750. You can start to study the customs of people living near the Caribbean Sea at that time, and design all kinds of costumes for people of all walks of life." Hearing Sun Ming's words, everyone in the room turned on their laptop to start working. After checking their working conditions, Sun Ming went out and entered another office. There were 15 well-dressed people, young and old. The era has been determined. I want you to design the buildings near the Caribbean Sea area at that time, whether they are residential buildings, castles or iron shops, etc., which should be closest to the situation at that time. Sun Ming's men were all in another office, and he directly arranged the task. Go find suitable places for the movie according to the information I just sent to you. I want to see at least 10 places that meet the requirements today. In the next room. Director Hu, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Everything is going on and I hope you make some reasonable recommendations according to the script. In the next room. In terms of engineering matters, you should arrange them properly as soon as possible. Don't waste time on the preparations if you want to start the construction. Sun Ming found his long-lost sense of business. But when he came out of the last room, he suddenly found that he seemed to have nothing to do. This amazing number of tasks had been split into different tasks that were carried out in an orderly way. Sun Ming felt himself being useless. He realized that the Purple Moon Entertainment Company had such incredible potential in terms of quality and speed, because the staff here were all so outstanding. Well, I'm like a general commanding the army. Sun Ming was amused by this idea. Several months of practice made Sun Ming more confident and more like a leader, but in terms of character, he was not as good as Liu Qingfeng and was more suitable for financial work. Because of Sun Ming's careful and serious work, all tasks were in full swing. In the afternoon, Xian came to the company, looked around, and found that she didn't need to do anything, so she went back to Cold Immortal School to accompany Meng Meng. After all, her little princess was going to school the next day. After such a long holiday, she still felt that she didn't have enough time to play. How can I start school so soon? I haven't had enough time to play. I don't want to go to school. In the morning of the next day, Meng Meng pouted her lips unhappily. Well, Zhang Han even wanted to discuss with Xin to let Meng Meng play for a few more days. Knowing that his words wouldn't work, Zhang Han didn't say them. Meng Meng, don't you want to chat and play with your classmates? Xian asked with a smile. But I want to play with Papa, Big Hi Hi and Little Hi Hi. You can play after school. HMPH. Meng Meng snorted unhappily. Xian felt helpless, when suddenly, she saw a small blackboard on one side. Her eyes brightened and she stepped to the front of the blackboard. There is one little red flower missing. Xian pretended to be surprised. Why? Meng Meng was stunned and hurriedly turned her gaze to the small blackboard. Then she ran towards it nervously and said, I can't lose them, or there will be fewer things that Papa promises me. No. Well, Mama is wrong, and none of the 18 flowers is missing, but, Meng Meng, if you don't go to kindergarten, you won't get any more little red flowers. Mama won't force you to go to school. Now you can do whatever you want. While speaking, Xian secretly observed Meng Meng's expression. Her method worked. Meng Meng was a little confused and began to hesitate. A few seconds later, she murmured, I'm going to kindergarten, Mama, and I want more little red flowers. Okay, good girl. Xian smiled and squatted down to kiss Meng Meng's face. Meng Meng's mood changed rapidly. After a while, she laughed again and followed her Papa and Mama to the lovely panda car. After they arrived at the kindergarten, Zhang Han walked Meng Meng to the gate. Goodbye, Papa, come quickly to pick up Meng Meng. Okay, Papa will be here in advance. Zhang Han burst out laughing after Meng Meng entered her classroom. Clingy little guy. But he was very happy for this. He liked to be stuck with his daughter every day. After leaving school and returning to the car, Zhang Han accompanied Xian to the company. When Meng Meng was in school, they enjoyed their time alone. They toured the company for 2 rounds and found that the preparations before shooting were almost finished, so they didn't have to worry about it at all. Therefore, Zhang Han took Xian to the Deepwater Bay to have fun, where they rented a small yacht. They went surfing, diving and playing games. They seldom had a chance to be alone, so they took the chance and had a good time. When Xian's parents and relatives heard that Xian was about to start filming, they all called to congratulate her and planned to visit her later. Xuanhuan even asked, do you and Zhang Han plan to have a second child? Do you usually take safety measures? I think it's good to have one child. Xian blushed. While the two of them were resting as if they were on holiday, Zif was often taken out by Chen Chengqing, and so were Zhao Feng and Liang Mengkai, Liang Hao and Zhang Li. Only the sissy Zhao Du was still busy in the company, but he unconsciously got closer with Yu Qingqing. Instructor Liu learned to behave himself recently, because Jiang Yanlan often came to Star Moon Bar and tried to beat him. Instructor Liu had almost learned the trick Zhang Han taught him, and decided to attempt a big reversal and teach Jiang Yanlan a lesson when he got the chance. What a relaxing day. However, hot news about the entertainment circle was spreading rapidly. Hong Kong Purple Moon Entertainment Company had spent 1.5 billion yuan to create an epic-level magic blockbuster, and was now seeking cooperation with roles in Europe and the United States. This news was like a hurricane, sweeping the whole entertainment circle in Hua Nation. What did you say, 1.5 billion? Did I hear you right? Nowadays, the general cost of film and TV plays was about tens of millions, and hundreds of millions of yuan was a big cost in many people's eyes. Except for Hollywood, few people were willing to invest so much, otherwise it would be difficult to bear the failure. Too many people were shocked by the amount of money. It's amazing. 1.5 billion, it's a huge cost. Isn't Purple Moon Entertainment Company Zhan's company? Hiss, her company broke the cost record on its first investment. Wow, I'm going to sign up, too. I'm going to pick up money. What an irrational investor. After the shock, many sarcastic voices were heard in various entertainment companies, and even many management and senior staff were waiting to see Zhan's company make a fool of itself. High cost requires high quality. What kind of script's worth such an amount of money? They won't make money until the box office is more than 3 times the cost. Do they naively think that their box office can reach more than 4.5 billion? Don't be kidding. It's good for a film make $1 billion at the box office. How dare they expect 4.5 billion? They must go bankrupt. It's true that the younger generation will surpass the older. Purple Moon Entertainment Company, which was founded less than a year ago, is so brave and dauntless. You can see that they just started their business and will not turn back without complete failure. But the cost of $1.5 billion is a little too much. Maybe it's fake news. It's just a gimmick, right? I don't believe they can invest so much money. The whole entertainment industry was paying attention to the new film, and many people were even a little jealous. Of course, such jealousy came from unknown small companies. Those famous companies didn't comment after they got the news. Instead, they gasped in astonishment as soon as they got the news. I'm afraid it's something Mr. Zhang has made. Money is like dirt in his eyes, and he may do this to amuse Miss Z. However, such a lot of money can definitely make a film that is not too bad. As far as I know, their directors, as well as some staff, are all elites from all walks of life. They are serious about the film. This year's movie queen must be Zhan. Mr. Zhang's spiritual state is something we can't achieve in our whole life. These praises were all from the private chat of the chairman of some entertainment industry leaders, which Zhang Han certainly couldn't hear. More than 90% of the people in the whole entertainment circle didn't know the background of Purple Moon Entertainment Company, and those who knew the origin wouldn't be so talkative. So now nearly 70% of people were envious. After all, they had never seen any films or TV series worth 1.5 billion yuan. But all of a sudden, they found something weird. Purple Moon Entertainment Company did not seek cooperation from Hua Nation's entertainment circle. Do they look down on us? Many people were not happy with this, so 90% of the entertainment circle who knew this news were ready to witness the failure of Purple Moon Entertainment Company. They can kick my head if they are going to make a profit. Many comments like this were heard from many places, but they misunderstood it. All the historians employed by the company and other departments decided that the majority of the actors should be European and American to meet the background of the script. Of course, Zhan was the heroine. The news caused a stir, but Zhang Han never paid attention to it. No matter what others thought about it, he just wanted to make Zhan happy with the movie. As long as Zhan was happy, everything else would be okay. Chapter 652, The Superstar Thrown Out. Time flew. The preparations for the film were almost completed in just 3 days. Various costumes, props, guns, knives, and other tools have begun to be customized. As for the ships, Wang Zanping, Wang Zanhong, and Wang Ming built 10 huge ships in one day after the design drawings were finalized. Each ship was large and docked at the south side of Mount New Moon near the sea. The designers were also shocked to see these prop ships. Although the shape is exactly the same as that on the design drawings, the whole construction process is too simple. This isn't a shoddy project, is it? They didn't know that the Wangs had set up many newly learnt arrays on the ship, which made the ship strong and beautiful, and even the guns and the other equipment on it were not replicas. Zhang Han and Zhan also came to see the ships and were quite satisfied with them. The ancient and weird Black Pearl, the luxurious HMS Dreadnought, and some other historical ships were just like the products of that era. As for the location of the shoot, they set the shooting site in an archipelago not far from Hong Kong, where there are many dangerous reefs. Originally, The director suggested a safer but far place, but this location was finally chosen. What a joke, it is just some reefs. The engineering team took a cruise ship to the shooting site to start constructing a building complex. Of course, most of the buildings were just beautiful frames, and only those involved in the plot would be constructed carefully, but it was still a big project. The director was stunned about the construction. He was used to looking for ready-made sets or backgrounds in other places when he worked for other companies. He had never expected Purple Moon Entertainment Company to build a whole set itself. It was the first time that he had experienced such a way of spending money. It's so nice to have money. Feeling like he was a business overlord, the director quickly put himself to work. According to the director's estimate, as long as the most important and difficult parts of the role selection process were successful, the shooting could start in 10 days. He had difficulty selecting the main actor. Zhang Han had meticulously described the man's appearance and other details in his script, and it was proving hard to find an actor who met all the requirements. Not just that. The actor's expression controlling ability and demeanor should also be excellent. The director had never seen such an actor before. Therefore, there were some difficulties while choosing suitable actors for the roles. Hong Kong Purple Moon Entertainment Company was spending $1.5 billion to produce an epic-level magic genre blockbuster film and was also holding auditions for actors from Europe and America. This had also caused quite a stir in the European and American entertainment circles. More than $200 million? It's a first for Xuanhuan's film and television industry, but can they make a good magic film with their poor skills? Perhaps they can make it if they're willing to hire a top Hollywood team for the special effects. This is just a local enterprise in Hong Kong. It is said that their capital and influence is quite strong, and the Luo family and other major families in Hong Kong all support them. I think this is a good opportunity. It's really a good opportunity. You can not only make money but also enter Xuanhuan's market. There should be a lot of people staring at this piece of cake. Although some people were cynical about this, more people knew that it was a matter of profit without the risk. 3 days later, I'm going to participate in the auditions of Hong Kong Purple Moon Entertainment Company. Many of the less famous actors who hadn't done anything recently couldn't stand their yearning. Some even went to Hong Kong for preparations as soon as they received the news. In a luxury villa in Canada, a handsome man with blonde hair and green eyes was lying on the sofa lazily, a little frivolity showing in his eyes from time to time, as if he didn't care much about the news from the outside world. A 40-ish years old man behind him was softly telling him about Purple Moon Entertainment Company. $200 million? I can go for it. The man said calmly, but you'll be starring in 2 films soon. Someone from Purple Moon Entertainment Company said that they would start shooting within the month after the main roles are finalized. The man in a suit behind him replied, within a month. The man on the sofa waved his hand casually, let the other 2 films wait for me. In recent years, Hollywood films and TV shows have a growing share in Xuanhuan, and their market has great potential. If I go to Hong Kong as the hero in the most expensive movie they have made till date, it will greatly improve our reputation in China. In his mind, he was already the leading actor, but the middle-aged man behind him was not surprised by what he said. The young man was Edmund Parker. His uncle occupied a high position in the Edmund family. His uncle had a lot of friends in Hollywood and was familiar with many people behind the scenes. Therefore, Edmund's career in the entertainment industry was thriving. The Xuanhuan market had only opened up in recent years, and Purple Moon Entertainment Company was sending out signals worthy of his attentive participation. And what's more, I want to make friends with Xian, that famous Oriental beauty. The young man's eyes brightened at the thought of Xian's appearance. Then he waved, you can go arrange it. Yes. Even actors like him had been attracted, let alone others, but scheduling conflicts had also blocked many people. The rest of the actors and actresses were also very confident of scoring a good role in the Hong Kong film. 3 days passed by quickly. Purple Moon Entertainment Company began its auditions. At 7:50 in the morning, Zhang Han, dressed in casual clothes, and Xian and Meng Meng, who were dressed meticulously, got in the panda car and went to St. Kindergarten together. During the first few days, Meng Meng had resisted a little while going to kindergarten, but now she seemed eager to go there. She got another little red flower yesterday, which made her very happy. Papa owes me 19 things now. Although she didn't know what it meant, she thought the more something was the better it was. I'll join you today. After arriving at the kindergarten, Xian put on her cap as they sent Meng Meng into the kindergarten. During this period, Xian met Lugo and chatted with her for a while. Lugo admired Meng Meng's parents because not only were they successful in their careers but also good at educating their daughter. After greeting the other teachers, Zhang Han drove Xian back to Mount New Moon to have a look at the nearly 100 ships docked at the foot of the cliff. This was all possible due to the hard work of the Wangs. Of course, Chen Chenking had also been caught by them as free labor. When they reached the top, they saw Wang Ming, Rong Jiaxin, Chen Chenking, Zif, and Zhao Feng standing on the edge of the cliff. "You are here," Rong Jiaxin said as she smiled at them. "Yes, we just dropped off Meng Meng to kindergarten," Xian replied with a smile. Then she walked to the edge with Zhang Han, looked down, and asked in surprise, "Where are the ships?" "There are too many of them, so I hid them." Chen Chenking replied with a smile. "You hid them? Where did you hide them?" Xian became even more confused. Where can such large ships be hidden? Under the water. Zhang Han soon found the ships with his soul sense. He smiled, reached out his right hand over the cliff, and pressed it down. Clatter. Suddenly, the water below began to churn and separated, as if a large piece of land was about to burst out from beneath. At the bottom of the sea, in front of them, there were many ancient styled ships. What a spectacle! Zif was stunned. She was a little afraid of the martial arts world, not only because of the spectacle of the billowing sea below but also because of the strange ship forest full of vivid colors. So many ships. Xian was shocked. She didn't know why, but she could easily accept anything in the martial arts world as if they were all common and normal to her. She also told Zhang Han about her thoughts. Zhang Han quickly replied to her that it was because she was extraordinary. She had given Zhang Han a 10 inches danshan, and now Zhang Han couldn't scan her danshan, even with his Earth Realm soul sense. This was obviously somewhat beyond Zhang Han's imagination. Fu. Zhang Han withdrew his hand and let the sea recover to its original state. "It's the first time that I saw a film be prepared so fast. The engineering team built houses in just a few days, and only those large complex buildings are time-consuming, but they have promised to finish them in half a month." Zif's eyes lit up. "With the premise of everything going well, we can start shooting after half a month." Just as she said the premise of everything going well, her cell phone rang. Zif frowned as she answered the phone. After hanging up, she told Xian, "There's something wrong with the auditions. Someone's causing trouble." "Ah?" Xian was a bit surprised. Zhang Han casually said, "Just drive them out." That guy was driven out, but he is Edmund Parker. The forces behind him are related to some top Hollywood companies. We may have some trouble, so I'd better go to have a look. Zif replied, "We'll go with you." Xian nodded and turned her gaze to Zhang Han, and said, "You wrote the story. You should come and see if there are any suitable actors." They went down the mountain to the company. Half an hour earlier, the parking spaces in the square of the Meng Meng group as well as the temporary parking spaces on the roadside were full of cars. Ordinarily, there would not be so many people here. The unknowing passers-by on both sides were a little confused and didn't know what was happening. While walking, they learned by chatting with others that these people had all come to audition for the first film produced by Purple Moon Entertainment Company. Soon they began to discuss it. "Why are so many people here? There are only a few main roles in a movie. Are these people here for the insignificant roles? Don't talk nonsense. Have you ever seen insignificant actors driving a luxury car? It's magnificent. I didn't expect that Purple Moon Entertainment Company would develop to such a scale after it was established just recently. I'm afraid it's the best in Hong Kong. Many onlookers, who had nothing to do with it, were enjoying the scene. The large conference room on the 9th floor of the building was full of people. On the dais in front of the conference room, Sun Ming, the president of Purple Moon Entertainment Company, was a little nervous but tried calming down when he was speaking. Welcome to the auditions of Purple Moon Entertainment Company. This is the first film by the company with a budget of 1.5 billion yuan. You should have heard of it, and it will be a top-level movie. I want to say that we don't lack funds and that our equipment is the best. However, we will only look for the most suitable actors. Everyone here has a chance. Good luck. Please form the line in the corridor on my left and have a great audition later. More than 20 members of Meng security, led by Xuyong and Ahu, were standing around the hall with Liu Jiren watching from the side. As for Instructor Liu, he was running away, because he saw the devil-like figure of Jiang Yanlan in the center of the hall. She is here, I'd better escape. Instructor Liu dared not face Jiang Yanlan for the time being. He hadn't completely mastered Zhang Han's methods yet. The Guardian Force was very powerful. There were more than 300 people from all over the world sitting in the conference room. 70% of them were foreign actors, 20% were locals, and 10% were people who came here with help from others. In spite of any help they received, they had to come here to compete for the role. There seemed to be a lot of people coming to the audition, but the majority of them were assistants of famous actors and so on. So the audition task in the morning was relatively simple. Being in the same industry, most of the people here knew each other. Gradually they came together to form groups to discuss other actors and their competitions. I didn't expect Louis to come here. He should be able to get the second lead role, at least with his skills. He's very popular, and his acting skills are excellent. I heard that he accepted the movie invitation of Universal Video, but if he were to succeed here, he may give up that movie. It seems that he also attaches great importance to the Huanation market. Wow, Ali is here? Suddenly, there was a bit of a commotion in the crowd. A woman with long blonde hair and brown skin was walking gracefully, step by step, from the door of the hall. Her arrival shocked a lot of people present here. She is a first-rate artist. Why is she here? Doesn't she know that the female lead of this film is Xian? You are wrong. She must have come for the second female lead role. Sometimes, the second female lead will even surpass the first lead as long as she makes the most of her acting skills. She is so clever and ambitious that she dares to compete with Xian, the Oriental beauty. And what's more, Ali has strong supporters. She is sure to get the role. Only famous people could get so many comments from this crowd. Those who came after Ali were not so familiar to the others in the hall and most of them were not very famous. After more than 10 minutes of silence, another shocking figure appeared. Hiss, it's Edmund. My God, why is he here? I know he's going to be in 2 high-quality films recently, both of which are arranged for him by one of his elders. So why is he here? We're done for. The role of the male lead will definitely be his. We have no hope. Yes. The production cost of this magic movie is $200 million, so they will hire the top Hollywood production teams for the special effects. They need Edmund very much. If they offend him, his supporters will prohibit any production teams from cooperating with Purple Moon Entertainment Company. That's right. Sometimes money is not everything. While everyone was discussing Edmund, many people closest to him began to say hello to him enthusiastically. Edmund slightly nodded at Ali without paying any attention to others. Then he sat in the first row in a graceful way. His assistant, a poker-faced man in a black suit, went directly near the dais and proudly said to Sun Ming, "Nice to meet you, Mr. Sunday. I'm Edmund's assistant and you can call me Mr. Man. We hope to facilitate this cooperation." After saying that, he was carefully looking at Sun Ming's expression as he saw the surprise in his eyes. Mr. Man was satisfied and thought that they would be invited to the VIP room for a private chat. However, Sun Ming just nodded and replied, "Okay, you're welcome." Then he stopped. "Huh?" The assistant frowned and said, "Edmund cancelled 2 good arrangements and took the time to come here. With all due respect, he is very impatient and wants to understand the script more thoroughly and see which role he is suitable for. Let's have a private chat first. I think you should be smart and know Edmund's identity and status." "Ah, yes, I know." Sun Ming nodded his head again and replied, "Please go sit down and wait for the audition." The assistant was confused. He didn't know what to say anymore. Is the president of Purple Moon Entertainment Company a piece of wood or what? He took a meaningful look at Sun Ming, and then went to Edmund and sat down. It seemed that Edmund was dissatisfied after hearing his words. The auditions soon began. Edmund stood up and ignored the people in front of him as he went straight to the audition site. He cut in line. The people behind him, though angry, dared not to speak out against him. Edmund was used to it and was frowning slightly in an indifferent way. But today, he was not in the right place to do as he wished. Whoosh! When Edmund was about to arrive at the door of the audition site, Xuanhuan appeared in front of him. Xuanhuan looked at him calmly and said, "Go back in line." "What did you say?" Edmund asked in anger. He pointed to himself and said, "You want me to line up? Who are you? Are you even qualified to speak to me like this? Stop talking nonsense." Xuanhuan took a step forward and looked down at Edmund with his height advantage. Then he threatened, "Behave yourself if you still want to audition, or you can go out and turn right to leave the building. You can't do as you wish here." Ha ha. Edmund was so angry that he burst out laughing. He turned to Sun Ming and said, "Where is this fool from? Is he a staff member of Purple Moon Entertainment Company? Are you looking down on me? You'd better apologize to me, or you can't even think about the consequences you'll bear." This. Sun Ming was in a dilemma. "I'm sorry, but the gentleman in front of you is Executive Xu of Meng Security." Buzz. Edmund was surprised. He is an executive? At the same time, he felt even angrier. "You should know me even better as an executive. How dare you speak to me like this? Don't you still want your job?" When he was just thinking about how to punish Xuanhuan, he saw a hand approaching him. Swish. Xuanhuan had grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up. Then Xuanhuan strode towards the door and threw him out. A cry of pain came from outside the door. Everyone waiting in line was shocked at this outcome. Edmund. He was thrown out. Chapter 653, Refusal to Cooperate. Edmund's assistant was shocked, too. He didn't expect the young master to be thrown out of the Purple Moon Entertainment Company. How dare they treat a guest like this? Don't they know how influential Edmund is in Hollywood? Don't they know that they can't afford to offend Edmund even if they don't cooperate? Are they mad? Hiss. Just as the assistant was sighing at the inconceivable affair, he saw Xuanhuan's gaze turn to him, so he trembled with fear, and hurried out. 5 meters away from the door, Edmund was lying on the ground, dizzy. But his anger was more intense than his pain. How dare they do this? Edmund felt it was inconceivable. No one here would not know my identity. Although Purple Moon Entertainment Company is competitive in Hong Kong, you are making a special effects heavy movie. Don't forget that Hollywood is in a dominant position in post-special effects. There is no doubt that this movie needs the support of a top-level team from Hollywood, and I have a very close relationship with Hollywood. In this case, how would they dare to beat me? Fuck. Edmund cursed. His assistant ran to him and helped him up. It took 30 seconds for Edmund to return to his normal breathing. He was shaking with rage and his face darkened. He saw Ailey's astonished expression and the other actors talking about him in the room. What are they talking about? Are they teasing me? They must be talking about what happened just now. Edmund was about to lose his mind. Seeing Xuanhuan standing at the door with a calm expression, he pointed at the Chinese man and said angrily, "I'll be back. You'll pay for it. Please." Xuanhuan shrugged casually. His indifference made Edmund as sick as having swallowed a fly. Edmund stood directly on the side of the corridor, took out his cell phone, searched for a number for a few seconds, and finally made a phone call. "Hello, Mr. Fan, long time no see. I'm in Hong Kong now. Yes, it's the audition for the Purple Moon Entertainment Company. There's a big problem with their company. Do you know an executive here? I'm fed up of him. Hello, Mr. Fan, hello." Edmund was surprised. After checking his cell phone, he was sure that the phone was disconnected and that it must be a signal problem, so he dialed that number again. Suddenly, he heard the electronic voice, "Sorry, the number you dialed is busy." "Why?" Edmund dialed again and heard that indifferent electronic voice, "Sorry, the phone you dialed is off." "Fuck." Edmund dialed another number. "Hello, Mr. Chu, I'm Edmund. I'm in trouble at Purple Moon Entertainment Company, someone named Executive Xu." Hello, Mr. Chu?" This was similar to the situation just now. However, when he dialed the number again, he heard the phone you dialed is turned off. He wasn't given a second chance. "It doesn't matter, I have many friends." Looking at Xuanhuan, who was relaxed, Edmund felt so angry that his hands were shaking. He slightly narrowed his eyes and called someone again. "Chairman Ma, I'm at Purple Moon Entertainment Company now. The executive here is very arrogant, and I want you to contact their chairman." Fortunately, the phone was not hung up this time, but the other side was silent. Edmund was nervous and thought that he would be refused again. However, 3 seconds later, a roar rang from his cell phone, which made Edmund's ears buzz. "Why should I help you? You never share the benefits with me, you only come to me when you are in such trouble. Get lost." Edmund slightly narrowed his eyes in rage. Listening to the busy tone on his cell phone, he almost lost his mind. Bang! He slammed his new cell phone on the wall. He realized that Executive Xu might not be an ordinary person, but he still insisted on facing Xuanhuan with a tough attitude. "Get me your chairman," he shouted. "Help yourself." Xuanhuan replied calmly, and then turned to the other side. Xuanhuan was relatively calm compared with Hu and Zhaofeng. While the former would directly throw Edmund out of the company, the latter would beat Edmund into silence. Zhaofeng was more efficient. Having followed Zhang Han for a long time, he disliked nonsense and was more pragmatic. Besides, Zhaofeng was the chief steward of Cold Immortal School and the company, and he always made it his first priority to get things done. Everyone's character was different, and Edmund was lucky to meet Xuanhuan. But he was still infuriated by Xuanhuan's attitude. "Give me your cell phone." Edmund shouted at his assistant, "Call Pisson." His assistant was stunned. He hurriedly handed over his cell phone and dialed the number Edmund gave him. "Hello, Pisson, long time no see. I want you to check something for me. Has someone from Hong Kong Purple Moon Entertainment Company contacted your special effects production team? What do you say? They contacted your team, right? Is the price very favorable? I see. Well, let me tell you this, I don't want you to cooperate with Purple Moon Entertainment Company very well now, you know what I mean." Edmund walked a few steps to the side with a sneer on his face, lit a cigarette, and spoke for 5 minutes. When he came back, he seemed to be a little arrogant. "Since you threw me out, I'll make you kneel and beg me to enter." He laughed in silence. He even began to think about what he would make them do before he was willing to enter. "At the very least, I'll recover the dignity I lost just now, such as slapping that guy in the face. Or I can make that guy kneel and beg for mercy, and then I may be willing to let go of it. Chairman Sun is not like a chairman at all. Shouldn't he stand up and welcome me when he sees me? Ha, I'm waiting to see how anxious you will be. Your production will die before it starts without the special effects of Hollywood's top-level teams." Edmund was sure that when they got the bad news from Hollywood, they would come to him begging for mercy. Edmund was relieved. He was immersed in his imagination and felt his pores open. Just at that moment, he heard Fu, Chairman Xu, Chairman Sun and several senior managers all appeared at the door. Wow, they received the news, a group of fools. Edmund waited for their entreaties. He was quite satisfied. Bison was very efficient, and these guys were like ants in a hot pot after 3 minutes. But what happened next froze his expression. Boss. Sun Ming smiled. The audition here has just begun. Xiong nodded. While speaking, they ignored Edmund and went straight to the front. Swish. Edmund and his assistant turned around and saw a group of young people. Huh? The man in charge is the boss of the company? They were shocked when they saw Zhang Han. How can such a young man control so large a company? Where is he from? A big family. Xian. Then they saw Xian beside the young boss, her delicate face, lips, nose, and everything that was so attractive. Hello. Zhang Han nodded. I'm here to be an interviewer. Edmund was not worthy of their special visit. He came for casting. After Zhang Han replied, they all walked inside. They ignored Edmund again. The famous actor felt depressed. So he took the initiative to speak. Miss Z, you are really beautiful, more beautiful than in any role you've played. Edmund managed to stop them. Then he took this opportunity to say, nice to meet you, I'm Edmund. After introducing himself, Edmund looked at Zhang Han and said with a smile, Chairman, you've set up an entertainment company, and I think you've heard of me. Chairman Sun was not very enthusiastic just now, and this executive was too much. You. Edmund was about to say, if you want to work with a Hollywood production team, you have to be nice to me. But before he had finished speaking, Zhang Han shook his head and waved to Zhao Feng, throw him out. What? Edmund was stunned and thought he didn't hear Zhang Han clearly, but he soon felt his body lifted again. He knew that what he had just heard was true. Fuck, is he going to throw me out? Edmund was so angry that he was about to shout. Bang! Zhao Feng beat Edmund's abdomen with his first. Then he couldn't make any sound. His assistant was not spared this time. Zhao Feng walked into the elevator with the two of them in his hands. The assistant was a smart man and didn't say a word. Smart people didn't have to be beaten. However, at the door of the first floor, they were inevitably thrown out 7 or 8 meters, and rolled another 2 or 3 meters on the ground, all covered in ash. Fuck, you will regret it. Edmund only left his words here. He didn't think about cooperation at all. How can people in this company work together without thinking? Then he dialed another number. Bison, I want you to terminate the cooperation with Purple Moon Entertainment Company. You also need to communicate with other companies. No cooperation is allowed. I will report this to my uncle. Sometimes it was like this. Edmund was so arrogant that he was thrown out. But even if he didn't get the role, he would also contact someone to make troubles. The relationship in the entertainment circle was complex, and so many people had to be considered. For ordinary companies, many actors who wanted the main roles would either rely on their own strength to fight for benefits, or depend on their supporters' strength. But Purple Moon Entertainment Company, a subsidiary of Meng Meng Group, could ignore all these supporters. This showed their special status. No one would get opportunities through other relationships. Even Hong Kitao's youngest son, Hong Li, who had a good relationship with Xian, was playing by the rules and waiting for his turn. He didn't even want to ask his elders to help, which would not only embarrass them, but also embarrass Xian. Xian chuckled. Edmund had no influence on her mood. It was interesting that Edmund, a famous star who might get the role through normal procedures, chose to do it in other ways. There were many grandmasters in the group, and anyone with bad attitudes would be beaten. Xian is coming. They are all out to meet them. Is the boss at the front? My God, Xian is the most beautiful woman in the East. She is so charming. I really want to cooperate with her in this film. A lot of comments were made, and these foreign friends were not stingy in their praise. Under everyone's gaze, Zhang Han and Xian were guided to the corridor on the right, while Chairman Sun and Chairman Xu were left to accompany them. Inside the corridor, 15 stars were sitting in a row of chairs. They all smiled and said hello to Xian. Xian politely nodded in response. At the door stood the chief director Zhen and his 2 men. Seeing Zhang Han, he said with a smile, Mr. Zhang, Miss Purple, knowing you are coming, we have to wait for a while. The audition hasn't started yet. Chief Director, I'm very flattered. Xian smiled slightly. Let's start first. Zif was experienced and wanted to start as soon as possible. There were a row of tables and chairs and 5 staff members in the room. Zhang Han and others were seated aside. Let's start. You can do whatever you want and we are just here to watch you. Zif looked at the staff and said, pointing to Zhang Han again, saying, he is the boss here and the writer of this script, so everything is based on his opinions. Of course, if he doesn't speak, you can continue normally. Okay. The staff responded in a hurry. Start. The director on the other side signaled to start. The staff at the door opened the door and called the first actor. Hello, everyone, I'm Lucette, from England. It was a man who was 1.85 meters tall and looked handsome. After his brief introduction, the staff members raised their questions one by one. Can you swim? Yes. Do you often go to sea? I usually take a cruise and sometimes surf. Of course, surfing is one of my favorite hobbies. What do you know about pirates? They are a group of mercenaries. There were various problems, all around several core intentions. After asking, the staff comforted him and asked him to wait for the result. Next came the second actor. These actors had different answers to the same questions, and Zhang Han and others had been watching them. Some actors left a good impression on the interviewer and would be asked to recite lines from the script for an on-the-spot performance. During this period, interviewers would record all kinds of information so that they could compare the different actors. All the 15 people in the first group soon finished the audition. Now Zhang Han understood the specific process and knew which kind of actor he wanted. Before the staff members were ready to call the second group, Zhang Han stopped them. Xiaofeng, please call in the 2 actors from seat 25 and 26 in row 9 first. He said. Okay. Zhao Feng went out directly. The chief director waved his hand and suspended the interview. Zhao Feng came to the meeting room and called the 2 men under the gaze of many people. The other actors began to guess the reason. It should be good news to be called at this time. In fact, it was. The presence of these 2 men surprised Zhang Han, who used his soul sense and found them the classic supporting roles of Pirates of the Caribbean. In Zhang Han's memory, the 2 played the clown duo of the Royal Navy, bullied by the protagonist, and finally joined the pirates. They survived until the last film in the series, attracting the attention of the audience. In the movie, one of them was Pine Till with a fake eye, and the other was Ray Jetty, a fat Mediterranean man. Soon, they were brought in by Zhao Feng. They were a little nervous and said hello everyone when they entered the room. They soon calmed down because of the company of their partner. When an interviewer was about to say something, the man next to him kicked him in the foot to stop him. Then he heard Zhang Han asking, how do you 2 understand the sea? Zhang Han asked casually and was ready to listen to them. The 2 men were confused, and one of them replied with not very fluent Chinese, sorry, I do not understand what you said. Okay. Zhang Han repeated his question in English. Hearing Zhang Han's fluent English, they thought he was an interviewer, so they said, we grew up by the sea. When they were ready for the second question after giving a simple answer to the first one, they saw Zhang Han beckoning. You 2 are hired. Zhang Han said, your roles are Pine Till and Ray Jetty. Director, please guide them to read the script later. What happened? The chief director was confused. Is it so easy to choose actors? He didn't know it was just the beginning. Zhang Han said to Zhao Feng again, go call those in seat 17, row 3, seat 8, row 2 and seat. He mentioned 8 people this time. All these actors came in one by one. The first one was Gibbs, in the film. The old man who liked to drink rum. The chief mate of the protagonist and the former captain of the Navy, who had known the protagonist's father for many years. Gibbs was also a main supporting role in the film. After he finished introducing himself, Zhang Han said, you're hired, the role of Gibbs. This way. Please. While wiping the cold sweat on his forehead, the director asked someone to take him to another room to wait. The next one to come in was Kitten, a mute person in the film. Zhang Han also hired him directly. Next came Barbasa, one of the protagonist's rivals. This steady and famous star was quickly hired. As one actor after another was hired, the interviewers around looked at each other in confusion. Is this still an interview? What was more interesting was that one of the selected actors was actually a star's assistant. He was shocked that he had done what his employer had failed to do. Gradually, after Zhang Han selected all the actors he could identify, he was in trouble. So far, he hadn't found the core characters Jack and Turner, who appeared in the opening. Before this problem was solved, another problem arose. Knock, knock, knock. There was knocking on the door. With the director's consent, a staff member in a suit came in sweating and said, "Bad news, the production team that reached an agreement with us refused to cooperate with us. The reason given is that we are not friendly to the stars they know, and the production teams of several other companies have refused to cooperate with us, as well. Why?" Zif jumped up from her chair. Chapter 654, In this way, they refuse to cooperate with us. If we don't work with the top special effects teams, but choose the second-class ones, the effects will be different. They had a good script and enough money, of course. They wanted the best special effects. A movie without special effects could not be called a blockbuster. Therefore, Zif's expression changed for the first time. The director and several staff members were also nervous, because they knew the importance of special effects. They thought that everything would go smoothly with abundant funds, and they didn't expect to get stuck like this at the beginning. What's the matter? Our partnership still existed yesterday. Why did they change their mind today? Is it because of Edmund? Zif was a little annoyed. The staff replied, "It should be Edmund. They said in the phone conversation just now that we shouldn't have offended someone and we have to bear the serious consequences. At least they will not cooperate with us in Hollywood." This. Zif was so depressed that her face darkened. Seeing Zif's expression, Chen Chenking hurriedly stood up and patted her on the shoulder. When Zif turned around, Chen Chenking smiled and said, "Just special effects. It's easy. I'll produce the special effects for you." "You?" Zif was confused. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. "I forgot. Both Chenking and my brother-in-law are excellent masters who can even control the rain and the wind. It must be easy for them to produce all kinds of special effects." "Great. Ha ha. They don't want to cooperate with us? We don't care about them." Zif's eyes lit up again in excitement. Xian was amused by Fei Fei's impatience. If she encountered this situation a few years ago, Xian would frown and think about how to solve the problem, but now, she had an almighty husband and didn't need to think about these trivial things. She even felt that she was dumber than before. Every time Xian said this, Zhang Han would laugh heartily and nod his head seriously as if it was true. Then Xian would pinch him at the waist. It was fun for a couple and couldn't be understood by others. Zif was completely relieved, but the director was still confused. "What's going on?" They turned their gaze to Chen Chenking. "Are you a special effects producer? You are alone and we won't be able to release the film until the next century." They couldn't believe in Chen Chenking's ability. What was more, it seemed not to be something one could do by himself. Although he doubted this, he was only a director, and his boss had a 2-hour conversation with him in person and asked many details before he came here. It could be seen how much his company valued this cooperation. Therefore, the director took a glance at Chen Chenking and managed to swallow his questions. He dared not say anything but sighed to himself. He felt that the so-called promising film had encountered a very difficult problem at the beginning. He did not know whether they could tell such a good story according to the script. Zhang Han took a glance at Chen Chenking and then nodded his head. Their ideas coincided with each other. Though the other companies didn't want to cooperate with them, they had many ways to get special effects by themselves. Then let's move on. Zif was thoroughly relieved and waved to the staff at the door. "We want to choose more actors, such as the royal officer who appears frequently in the film, and Zif explained it briefly. Although she had always been Xian's agent, what she had arranged now was all about Xian's work, which could be described as the role of a leading woman. Of course, she would like to be regarded as a good sister of Xian. This film was Xian's first work after such a long break, and Zif paid special attention to it. She had read the script more than 10 times and made notes on the characters and appearance of main roles. She was so familiar with the script. While Zif was speaking, the audition continued. But the next scene amused all the people in the room. "I'm coming." Jiang Yanlan entered the room in a casual way, took a glance at Zhang Han and Chen Chenqing and said, "Hello, everyone." "Well, Captain Jiang, what are you doing here?" Chen Chenqing couldn't help saying, "Why are you here?" He had noticed Jiang Yanlan before, but he didn't speak to her. Besides, with the strength, identity and character of Emperor King, he seldom took the initiative to greet others except Zhang Han. Jiang Yanlan snorted, "I'm here to beat instructor Liu." Clatter. Zhao Feng, who was sitting on the side of the table, was amused by her words and almost laughed. "I came to audition by the way to experience an actor's life," said Jiang Yanlan. The other staff, including the director, were shocked by her and wondered what she wanted. But they finally decided to be onlookers because Jiang Yanlan seemed to have a good relationship with Zhang Han and his friends. "You don't have to be here." Zhang Han found it funny. Jiang Yanlan had looked after him several times, so Zhang Han had a good impression of her. "I like it." Jiang Yanlan said, "I could have had a rest, but Emperor King followed you to Hong Kong and thus our eldest brother arranged a task for me. In case you would hurt the flowers and grass when you dueled, I'm in a bad mood and will make trouble here if I don't have a good time today. I don't want the main roles or the important supporting roles since you have Sister Xian. I like the walk-on pasts." It could be seen that if Zhang Han did not agree with her, she would not leave. After thinking about it, Zhang Han waved his hand and looked at Zhao Feng. "Arrange it later." "Okay." Zhao Feng nodded. After achieving her goal, Jiang Yanlan hummed and turned around without hesitation. But she didn't expect that all the characters wouldn't fit her. Jiang Yanlan was also very beautiful, but only one beautiful heroine was enough. Finally, after Zhao Feng discussed it with the director, he came up with a good idea and arranged a suitable role for Jiang Yanlan. She was assigned the task of shooting. They didn't know what kind of expression Jiang Yanlan would show when she got the news. The audition continued. Zhang Han made a variety of choices among these people, and the whole process was very smooth. Except for Captain Jack and Turner, all the other roles were determined. These two were the roles that interacted most with the heroine. When he was about to leave at noon, Zhang Han thought about it, looked at Zhao Feng and the director, and then said, "Look for these two actors these days. If you can't find the right person, let me play them." "Really?" Xian's eyes lit up. "What else can I do?" Zhang Han had no choice because Elizabeth, the heroine, would experience a lot with Turner. Although there were some ways for Xian not to hug or kiss others, Zhang Han had a way to play Turner and Jack. Zhang Han preferred the second method, so he mentioned it to Xian. Xian was overjoyed because she wanted to play husband and wife on screen with Zhang Han. Xian hurriedly turned around, looked at Zhao Feng, coughed softly and said, "Xiao Feng, you should not be too tired to find actors. You can have a proper rest. Anyway, your master can do it." "I see, Mom." Zhao Feng nodded with a smile. He knew what Xian meant, that was, they didn't need to find the actors at all, and could just wait for the shooting to start. That's it. Zhang Han thought about it in a more comprehensive way, saying, "You should arrange for those who participate in the performance to train their martial arts knowledge these days." "Okay." Zhao Feng nodded. He knew that if they used real special effects, they really needed to let the participants know about it in advance. The number of laymen was not very large, and there were many members of the security group who were also involved in the game. Yes, now many people regarded this movie as a game. Basically, all the preparatory work was over. Now many engineering teams were working together for the completion of those main buildings, and they were quite fast. A message came out that day. Several major Hollywood companies are refusing to assist Purple Moon Entertainment Company in special effects production. Bang! The news was a surprise. Edmund was very happy to hear this news, not just a few big companies, but the whole Hollywood. His affairs had been publicized to make many companies involved. They decided to punish Purple Moon Entertainment Company not only because of the force supporting Edmund, which was unable to affect the whole Hollywood, but also because someone wanted to push the boat with the flow of water and were willing to see such chaos. Many people were shocked by the news. The entertainment circle in many countries had more or less talked about it. It's a bit too much for Hollywood to do this collectively. Although the production cost of $200 million is high, it is not the top level in Hollywood, and they don't care much about it. After all, Hollywood has developed earlier and has the most mature technology, which we still lack. But we are qualified to cooperate with Purple Moon Entertainment Company. Let's wait for them to contact us. A blockbuster masterpiece without special effects is shit. Now Purple Moon Entertainment Company is just as anxious as ants in the hot pot, right? They were too boastful. How dare a newly opened company directly make such an expensive movie? Purple Moon Entertainment Company will go out of business today next year. There were too many comments, but most people were not optimistic about Purple Moon Entertainment Company, a company that had made a publicity stunt. Even many people didn't believe that they could invest so much money in a movie. But in fact, all the staff of Purple Moon Entertainment Company were very relaxed and casual. Sun Ming, in particular, whistled in the office. No post-production saves us a lot of money. Anyway, the news was spread today and there were many reports on it. But in daily life, it was just like a stone thrown into the water, arousing a little wave, and then calming down. It took a long time to produce a movie. Now they hadn't started shooting, so there were not many people focusing on them. 10 days passed quickly. After everything was arranged, Zhang Han and Xian began to study the script. As far as acting was concerned, Xian was much better than Zhang Han. But Zhang Han was learning at a fast speed and all he needed to do was to correct his expression, tone and so on. Art came from life, which meant a lot of fun for them. However, their study progress was not fast, because in such a romantic atmosphere, the direction of the script often deviated from the main line. The graceful voices rose slowly, representing the emotion of incomparable passion. Zhang Han realized that it was good to accompany Xian to make movies in their spare time. At least she looked like an obedient kitten. On Saturday and Sunday, Zhang Han didn't mention the script and devoted himself to playing with Meng Meng. Happy times passed quickly. On the 11th day, the last important buildings were completed in groups in a small archipelago on the south side of Hong Kong. It was so fast. Although they couldn't be used as real houses, it was safe to use them for making the movie. Today is the day of the Curse of the Black Pearl. At 8 a.m., Zhang Han drove Xian to send Meng Meng to the kindergarten. After the little guy went in, they went back to Cold Immortal School, at the edge of the cliff in the back mountain forest, under the confused gaze of Dai and Little Hai. They jumped down. They dived into the sea and experienced the moving melody of the fish. The original voyage was an hour and a half. Under Zhang Han's leadership, the two arrived in less than half an hour. Within 10 nautical miles, there were many islands, and the buildings were distributed in 2 places 3 nautical miles apart. Now many actors, photographers, makeup artists and so on had arrived at the scene. There were so many people talking about the movie. Zhang Han and Xian stepped onto the bank and walked by them. The director was stunned. How did they come? Zhao Feng, Xuyong, Lao Meng and more than a dozen others were standing by in black suits. Liu Jiren went back to school in Linhai City, leaving Ahu in Linhai City, and they talked on the phone from time to time. Ahu had nothing to do these days, so he took part in the movie. The makeup artist designed him to be a subordinate and a busybody of the pirate ship. He was dressed in rags, His hair was untidy and his face was swarthy, which was quite in line with the original description. At the same time, many others were also ready. The actors in the film were all looking around in high spirits. They also knew about martial arts, which was so exciting, but they hadn't seen a real martial artist yet. Let's start if everything is ready. Zhang Han and Xian went to the front of the crowd and nodded. The director was slightly shocked. How can we start before our ships arrive? Didn't anyone contact the ships? Ships, haha, they are already here. Wang Zanping burst out laughing as he summoned his mountain and river flag, then he pressed it forward, and the flag flew into the air, becoming more than 10 meters long. Many people were stunned. To see things once is better than to hear about it 100 times. After hearing so many things, they were finally shocked by what they saw. But the shock was just beginning. Clatter. A huge wave came out. Under everyone's gaze, a huge black ship broke through the water and appeared. The black flag on the ship was printed with the sign of skeleton. The ship was damaged, and there was a faint mist around it, which made it appear extremely mysterious. It's like a ghost ship. The director was so shaken that he didn't dare to board alone. What a spectacle. Zhif, Zhang Lilai, Liang Hao and sister were shocked. Even Zhang Han nodded slightly. This ship was the same as the one in the impression. However, from the view of whether it was weird, Black Pearl didn't need accompaniment. It was frightening just because of its strong visual impact. Foo. Then, the second wave was lifted, and a huge ship appeared beside it. This was the ship at the beginning of the movie, followed by 3 smaller ships. Go aboard and get ready. Zhao Feng checked the time and said, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. All of a sudden, the director and others saw the people who were going to play the Royal Army marching one by one towards the second ship. Some officers and other actors were carried by these people. At the beginning, Elizabeth and Turner's young actors were invited out of the houses on the edge of the back building complex and brought up with higher treatment. The moonlight is hidden in the sea fog. The road from Jishi to Xiaoxiang is infinite. Wang Zanping shouted, mist. Clatter. The mountain and river flag was waved again. Suddenly, on the sea surface of hundreds of meters around, a thick white fog rose. The white fog was so vast that it immediately concealed the ships, which was quite mysterious. Well, follow the beginning of the play. Let's go. Everyone is ready. The director waved to Jiang Yanlan, who was lying on the side of the chair. All of a sudden, the nearby shooting equipment was turned on, and a total of 3 sets of equipment were lifted into the air, submerged in the edge, suspended on the sea and started shooting. Buzz! Several ships were scattered. In the first scene, the royal ships broke through the vast white fog and came face to face with the pirates. Thus it started in this way. The director was even more confused. I haven't said start yet. What's going on? My God. Is that how a real movie is made? Crack. The director's worldview was broken. At the same time, the cameraman next to him was also dazed. The equipment has gone to work by themselves. What else should we do? All the people around were confused, but it didn't affect the progress of the shoot at all. Equipment and other details were okay, but the actors' acting skills were still prone to mistakes. In the beginning, the expressions of 2 little actors and so on were shot more than 10 times. It took an hour to finish filming the beginning of the plot. When Elizabeth was a child, she found Turner, in order not to be found out, that he was the little pirate who took the necklace of gold coins hanging on his neck. She later found the broken ship. The shoot was very fast. When it was necessary to change the scene, Jiang Yanlan clapped her hands. The 3 ships shattered and drifted on the sea in broken pieces, and they were burning in a miserable way. The director was stunned. Breaking a real ship, my God. The filming ended when Elizabeth finally saw the strange black pearl emerge from the vast white fog. The shoot took them less than 1 hour. The director and others who just calmed down exclaimed, amazing. This is amazing. It's so fast. I didn't expect the movie to be made like this. Chapter 655, Competition on the Same Schedule. At the end of the first set of shots, a group of actors who were ready to go ashore were carried up by others for some other tasks. After a while, they were sent back. Some of them had great acting skills. For example, the handsome actor who played the role of the royal officer passed after a single take. The two little actors were a little nervous and scared, so they got stuck several times in different scenes. After that, they returned to the shore one after another. Among them, the most leisurely were the people who controlled all kinds of scenes on the small yacht. The director was supposed to sit there, but these people seemed to have forgotten the director and didn't take him there. After arriving at the shore, the camera staff rushed to the director's side and began to show him the previous scenes. After all, he was the experienced chief director. The footage just shot shocked the chief director, who kept silent for 1 minute. Then he said with a trembling voice, "They are awesome. I didn't expect the effect of this shooting method would be so good. If this is popularized, then..." While saying like this, he turned his gaze at Jiang Yanlan, who was lying on a bench nearby. He didn't want to say anything. Popularize it? How many shooting teams can have immortal means like these people? So far, he had made more than 20 films, each of which had a very difficult shooting process. He had been to the primeval forest, trekked over mountains and rivers, and sometimes even shot all night. It was his first experience of such an easy shooting and special effects production process. The people who had just been filmed were in high spirits. Many of them had been filmed for the first time, which was quite an interesting experience for them. On the outside, a group of people in royal uniforms and long guns, as well as a variety of war-con actors, were standing by. "Start preparing for the next set of shots." The director stood up and said. Then he walked gently to Xian. "Well, Miss Xian, is it convenient for you to make up? The next first shot is when you open your eyes." "Ah, yes." Xian nodded her head, then turned to Zhang Han and closed her eyes. "Come on." "Huh?" The director was surprised. What is she doing, waiting for a kiss? He thought Xian was going to make up, but this was not the case. What happened next made him realize that he could not use common sense to work out the behavior and intention of these immortals. Zhang Han raised his right hand, and there was some gold powder in his palm. He blew the powder gently towards Xian's hair. Phew! The gold powder was constantly floating, and the Xian's long hair suddenly changed from black and straight to gold and curly. A rose suddenly appeared in Zhang Han's right hand. The red rose was very eye-catching. Zhang Han held the rose in his hand and swiped it back and forth at Xian's cheek. It was like there was fluorescence passing by. Next second, Zhang Han took back the rose and Xian slowly opened her eyes. When she turned to the director, "Buzz." The director narrowed his eyes in astonishment. Xian now had blonde hair and green pupils, although her cheeks hadn't changed much, which was still very delicate. Her vivid pupils, hair and hairstyle made her look like a foreign beauty. "How is it?" Xian asked in English. "Great, it's exactly what we wanted." The director exclaimed and then looked at Zhang Han. "Boss, can you transform yourself?" "Yes." Zhang Han thought about it. As soon as his right hand was raised, powder passed over him, and his hairstyle and face shape changed a lot. William Turner appeared in front of them, and they were only able to see clearly the features of Zhang Han, especially the eyes, although the face shape had changed. Xian felt like Zhang Han had strong makeup. "My prince, let's go." Xian smiles and gracefully reached out to hold Zhang Han's arm. Zhang Han was amused and shook his head. The changes of Zhang Han and Xian surprised the others. "Boss, I can hardly recognize you when you are like this, but you are not as handsome as yourself." Ahu ran to the side and flattered Zhang Han. After saying that, he patted his belly. "I just heard that today I can't play the part of pirates, so I dressed up all in vain. You can change your clothes and play the royal army," said Xian. "That's what I think, but it takes more than half an hour to make up. It's too painful." "Well, can you transform me, boss?" Ahu said with a smile. "Go to Master Wang. He can also do it. Zhang Han waved his hand. The materials he used before were elaborately made with the best effect, and the makeup was easy to remove. Wang Zanping had also prepared some makeup materials, which were relatively inferior. For this movie, Wang Zanping, Wang Zhanhong and Wang Ming, who were proficient in arrays, were all very active in helping Zhang Han. They came to Mount New Moon to live under the protection of Zhang Han, but they never repaid him. Now, they had the opportunity to do this. Besides, they had learned a lot of new arrays, and wanted to practice them here. This saved a lot of manpower, material resources and most precious of all, time. Zhang Han didn't have much time. He arrived here at 9 o'clock every day and had to go back to pick up Meng at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Xian was very clear that Zhang Han insisted on this, and everything else should make way for it. Even Xian sometimes came home late because of her busy work, but Zhang Han couldn't. Because Zhang Han was so reliable, Xian was very relieved to work outside. Master Wang, please transform me, now my face is a little dark. Ahu ran towards Wang Zanping. Wang Zanping replied with a smile. Then he turned Ahu into a handsome man with personal characteristics, who was waiting to change into a royal army costume. Zhang Han and Xian were walking, when they suddenly heard a cry from Ahu at the back. Elder Wei, why is this part of skin missing? The shooting site was in a big villa. Xian changed into pajamas and lay on the bed. This time, the scene was shot by the staff. Jiang Yanlan stood by to watch them with great enthusiasm. She had no friends in Hong Kong, and she was forced to come here by Yi Danlang. She was bored and naturally came to see how the film was made. In the past 10 days, she beat Instructor Liu 3 times and was gradually used to it. If she didn't hit Instructor Liu for a few days, she would feel a little itchy. Instructor Liu's bravery surprised her, but the poor man had never defeated her. Action. The director announced. They started working. Xian, who was receiving a close-up of her eyes, suddenly opened her eyes as if she had a nightmare. She looked at her bedroom and then turned her gaze at the candle beside her. The whole room was dim, so she stood up, picked up the candle, opened the drawer, and took out a gold coin with a skull mark under several notebooks. This gold coin was the main clue throughout the story, and also the reason to attract the Black Pearl led by Barbasa. After looking at the gold coin, Xian went to the mirror and looked at it. The shooting ended. Without hesitation, they made some preparations and soon began the next act. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock at the door, accompanied by a soft voice. Elizabeth. It was her father. After Xian put on a long dress, the door opened. Elizabeth's father came in with 3 maids, who began make arrangements for Xian's body-shaping clothes. It took her great effort to put on a beautiful princess dress. She was going to attend Norrington's promotion ceremony. Then came Turner. Zhang Han took a sword box and was very involved in the play. Xian's recent training was also very useful. They passed after 3 takes. Then came Jack, who was standing on the sails, looking to the front with complex expression. Zhang Han, dressed in a different costume, played vividly until the camera turned to the next scene. After the ship came ashore, Jack had experienced a series of stories and the scenes changed constantly, until the Royal Navy's funny duo finished the classic fight. Zhang Han looked at his watch and said, "It's time to pick up Meng." He announced the end of today's shoot. The director sighed with emotion. It was the first time for him to experience such an easy shoot. Not only did he not need to work 9 to 5, but he could also enjoy his weekends. At work, he just needed to give instructions and check the footage. Why are directors so relaxed? Everything goes well, and all I have to do is sit down and have a cold drink. I feel so comfortable. In the meantime, he had been appreciating all kinds of beauty. The next day, the 3rd day, the 5th day, the 7th day. Every day there was a qualitative leap in the progress of shooting. When Elizabeth fell into the sea and Jack jumped to save her life, Xian's pirate gold coin gave a strong shock. Everyone could see a very strong wave, with a light blue light, spreading to the depths of the ocean, which was so mysterious and profound. All kinds of special effects were described in detail in the script. Therefore, there are constantly staff members running to Chen Qingqing for help. "Master, I'm sorry to trouble you again, we need." Chen Qingqing became a special effect engine. Everything went smoothly. They soon began filming Jack's escape after he was interrogated after saving Elizabeth. The most amazing thing was that Zhang Han took out an object, turned it into Turner and fought with him as Jack. Their battle was so wonderful, dazzling and frightening. Finally Jack was caught, Barbarossa arrived, and the night battle began. At about 11 o'clock in the night, Zhang Han came out alone to shoot the film. He and Xin moved separately, leaving a person at home to take care of Meng Meng. It was a waste of time, but the shooting progress was still very fast. Finally, several pirates found Jack, and all the actors were from the security group. After chatting for a while, the leader of the group suddenly extended his arm, which turned into a skeleton in the moonlight, scaring many people. But the actors were more nervous. They are holding their boss's neck, which was so frightening. Finally, Elizabeth was caught on the ship, the crew became skeletons, and even the actor who played Barbossa was confused. How could himself become skeletons? It took him 2 or 3 times to get used to it. They always used the most real special effects to promote the rapid development of the plot. Until the night, under the sea, many pirates walked on the bottom of the sea, and all the fishes could be seen clearly. When they were exposed to the moonlight, they all turned into skeletons with evil spirit. The director was used to it. Therefore, the shoot lasted 30 days. The whole film was finished. It took them another half-month to do post-production. Generally speaking, the duration of a film was 90 minutes. For this reason, the director held several meetings and finally decided that every shot was a classic, and he didn't want to delete it. So the duration of the film became nearly 150 minutes, or 2.5 hours. Then there was the issue of film release. To the surprise of Sun Ming and the director, they planned to schedule the film on May 2nd. But it also involved some other matters, such as the approval of the relevant bureau and the advertising of the cinema. However, when they just finished making their plan, Chen Qingqing made a phone call. "Hello, uncle. My brother Han's movie is finished. It's scheduled for May 2nd, please arrange it." So within 10 minutes, the relevant personnel contacted Sun Ming, and in the end, it took only 1 day to fix the problem. The efficiency shocked the director and all the staff. There was no problem here in Hong Kong. All the major cinemas agreed to cooperate with them without any reward and sign extremely favorable contracts with them. As for other places, the problem of the film's release in Singapore was easy to solve, but its experience in Europe and America was a bit unexpected. The Hollywood side even sent out 2 famous men to help them. May 2nd was the day when Purple Moon Entertainment Company's Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl was released worldwide. Originally, Sun Ming and others doubted the reason why the famous people in Hollywood would help them. But then, big news came out. Green Man in Rage, made by Hollywood Ring Avenue with a $500 million investment, would be released worldwide on May 2nd. Hiss. Sun Ming and others suddenly realized what was going on. Hollywood didn't want to help them. It wanted to compete with them on the same schedule. They wanted to ruin the movie by Purple Moon Entertainment Company. In fact, this was their plan. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Edmund was having dinner with his elders and some famous people. Our Green Man in Rage took 2 years to shoot and cost US $500 million. Although the plot is not so rigorous in terms of the logic of some details, what we need is this kind of weak competition. The special effects will dazzle. I believe that those in China who enjoy special effects will speak highly of this movie. A middle-aged man with glasses said with a smile, "Yes." Another fat man said with a smile, "Since I made it, I have said that I will sweep the global box office list in May." It was originally set at May 20th, but because of the ridiculous Pirates movie by Purple Moon Entertainment Company, we have advanced by a few days. Even if the publicity is less, our box office will crush them. If I remember correctly, they did it in March and the movie was finished in May. Think about it, it must be rubbish. A sharp-faced man sneered, "We must help Edmund this time. I'm looking forward to the expressions of those fools in front of the mass media." Edmund raised his red wine glass and sneered. Except for those who were behind the scenes, the entertainment circles in many places were talking about it. There were some ironies in this. It's worth $200 million. It took them only 2 months to finish the film. God, are they making documentaries? Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, is it a comedy? They know pirates, too? Perhaps they just took a picture of the ocean, built a boat, and hired a couple of dogs and cats as pirates? I'm afraid Purple Moon Entertainment Company is going to be a big joke. Their competition is too strong. Green Man in Rage, made by Ring Avenue with $500 million is a big production indeed. Purple Moon Entertainment Company is just a newly established company, and they are not qualified to compete with Ring Avenue on the same schedule. They are done. I'm afraid that as soon as their film is released, it will be completely criticized by netizens. These were very normal slanders in their thoughts, which were all over the country, even in Hua Nation. Many companies in the entertainment circle were also watching, because a blockbuster made in 2 months seemed to be a joke. But they would use this hot trend to release their own new films in May to carve up the advertising effect of Ring Avenue. However, on the next day, there were still a lot of comments, but a trailer promoted by Purple Moon Entertainment Company seemed to turn into a huge event. Bang! Many voices were silent. The deep background music, the magnificent ship, the exquisite heroine, the attractive personality Jack, as well as the crew with the cold faces, whose arms exposed in the moonlight would become skeleton arms. They attracted everyone. In this way, the trailer of Pirates of the Caribbean directly rushed to the most searched list. Many people wanted to see more previews. This caught Edmund's group off guard. After studying the trailer of Pirates of the Caribbean for a long time, they suddenly found a fact that made them suspicious. This special effect is so realistic. Which company helped them? Is it possible that there is a traitor on our side? But the trailer alone was not enough to defeat them, so they also released their prepared trailer the next day. There was a smell of gunpowder, but when the Green Man in Rage's trailer hadn't been publicized, another news spread. What? Is the main character of Pirates of the Caribbean the same as the supporting male role? The actor is called Han Yang. They don't look like each other at all. Who are you talking about? Han Yang? Is it Han Yang we all know, the amazing composer? He and Xian have performed together before in Chinese New Voice. Is he also an actor? Is it him? Go check his Weibo. Many Chinese insiders went to Han Yang's Weibo, and suddenly found that there was new news on it. It was posted 2 hours ago. Yes, it's me. Swish. Many netizens were shocked again. They believed it was true when they saw the number of likes and replies Han Yang received. So the film of Purple Moon Entertainment Company was successfully publicized. If the publicity was enough, it meant that more people knew that Pirates of the Caribbean would compete with Green Man in Rage. Not only the same day, but also the same time. Too many people were looking forward to May 2nd. But Zhang Han was preparing for the special program of Labor Day arranged by St. Kindergarten on May 1st. It was time to work. Chapter 656, Labor Day Activities. Because the film had been finished for a long time, Xian was free. Zhang Han took the time to write out the story of the second and third films and gave it to Sun Ming to arrange someone to expand on the plot. After many years, Zhang Han couldn't remember many details. Sun Ming hired a lot of talented people, so Zhang Han didn't need to worry about it. Even the one he was going to release was slightly changed in some details. Zhang Han felt it was better than his original story. Even he thought so, let alone others. The 1.5 billion budget had been publicized for a long time, but the whole film actually cost less than 200 million yuan. And the director and staff were looking forward to its box office. What was more, It only took them more than 2 months to finish the film quickly, which made people doubt their quality. Even if their trailer shocked everyone at first, some people doubted the quality and wondered if it was just like the promotion of some stupid web games. They all had good CGI but poor quality. Towards these doubts, there was no refutation from Purple Moon Entertainment Company. In fact, they ignored any comments. But anyway, they were satisfied with the effects of their publicity. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Zhang Han and Xian were chatting in their panda car. Tomorrow is May Day. I want to participate in school activities. Xian said, sitting in the comfortable back seat. Do what you want. Zhang Han replied casually. He never refused Xian and Meng Meng. But it's said that the venue of the activity is in the front Louis Square. Xian's lips pursed slightly. Her popularity peaked 2 months ago and it was inconvenient for her to go out now. What do you worry about when I'm here? Teacher Lugo told me that the activity is held in their school, not in the square. Zhang Han chuckled. Is it? That's good. Xian said, when did you talk to Teacher Lugo? It was me who always talked to her. I was free the day before yesterday, so I chatted with Teacher Lu in the morning and asked something about Meng Meng. Zhang Han replied. Xian held out her hand. Your cell phone, let me see what you said. Why? Zhang Han was surprised and then gave her his cell phone. Sometimes Xian was like a little girl. Xian viewed a few messages in the cell phone, then suddenly looked to the right. School is over, I'll pick up Meng Meng with you. As she said, Xian opened the door and exited first, followed by Zhang Han. At the gate, Xian took Zhang Han's hand in his and entered the school with him. Papa, Mama. Meng Meng ran to them and raised her right hand. Zhang Han knew that there was a little red flower in her hand. The scene was so familiar to him. He was right. Meng Meng happily showed Zhang Han what was in her hand. I've got a new little red flower, I'll get another one tomorrow, and we all have one as long as we go to work. Meng Meng is good. Xian smiled and touched her head. How many little red flowers do we have? Well? Meng Meng was slightly surprised. She looked down at her fingers and mumbled in a childish voice, 1, 2, 3, many, many flowers. With this one in your hand, we have 26 little red flowers. Xian said with a smile. Ha ha ha. Meng Meng burst out laughing, but no one knew what she was thinking about. She pulled Papa and Mom out of school, got into the car and went back to Mount New Moon. Along the way, Xian and Meng Meng were in high spirits. They sang in a low voice and chatted. Meng Meng also talked about her new knowledge every day. Their life was very peaceful, but some small troubles always happened before they could notice them. Ding! Xian's mobile phone rang. When she took out her mobile phone answered it, her expression suddenly changed. Where are you? I asked your brother-in-law to arrange for someone to pick you up. Well, okay, see you in the evening. After Xin hung up the phone, she looked at Zhang Han and said, Xia is at her school. She plans to come tomorrow after the May Day holiday. She just went out with her roommate and faced some problems. Where is she? Zhang Han asked and took out his cell phone. Although it was only an hour's drive to Xia's university, distant water cannot quench present thirst. The 3rd floor of Dingshan International. Xian replied. Zhang Han made a phone call. Hello, Director Bai. My wife's sister has some trouble in Shenzhen. She is on the 3rd floor of Dingshan International. Okay, thank you. Of course, everyone wanted to help Zhang Han. Xia and her roommate's troubles were not a problem for Director Bai. Less than 2 hours later, Director Bai personally drove a Hummer to bring Xia and her 3 classmates here. 2 of them were familiar with Xian, and they had taken photos with Xian before. Another girl was a little nervous and felt very excited to meet Xian. For the first time, they came to Cold Immortal School, from the stone gate at the foot of the mountain to the hall on the 1st floor of the castle. They had been admiring the scenery. My God, Xia, your sister is so rich. Sister Xin is a superstar. And her husband is also very powerful. How powerful was the one who just dropped us off? He also calls her brother-in-law Mr. Zhang. At the gate of the castle, the girls were still talking. But I still like the food here, it's the best I've ever tasted. The chubby girl said with a smile. She asked Zixia to bring her to Hong Kong because she was so fond of delicious food. Seeing them approaching, Zhao Feng opened the door. Zhang Han and Meng were sitting on the sofa on one side. Sister-in-law. Zixia ran to them. Sister Zhang, brother-in-law. The other girls greeted them politely. Nice to meet you, I'll go to talk with him. Zhang Han replied and went outside of the castle. Director Bai was still in his car, and Zhang Han wanted to thank him for helping the girls and sending them here. Sit down please, Xia, help your roommates with the fruit on the tea table. You are welcome and please just regard me as your sister. Zhang said with a smile. Well, you're welcome. Meng put down the toy, pouted her little mouth and said, I planted all the fruits with Papa, they are delicious, hurry up and eat, elder sisters. Meng was not selfish at all, and she liked to share delicious food with her guests. Zixia's roommates liked Meng so much. When Zhang Han was about to leave the room, he heard Zixia's complaint. Elder sister, we wanted to come back tomorrow. But Xiam met a liar while driving before we were able to go out for fun. The liar called someone to help him. They are a gang. Then Zhang Han went out. It could be imagined that the gang was soon destroyed by Director Bai. With a single instruction, Director Bai called in a large number of police to take them away. At the level of Director Bai, there was no need to deal with some things by himself, but this time it was Zhang Han who called him, and he quickly put down the matter in his hand and personally took someone to solve the problem. It was overkill to some extent. Mr. Zhang. When Director Bai saw Zhang Han coming, he got out of the car in a hurry. Well, thank you so much this time. Would you like to come in and have a drink? Zhang Han said with a smile. No, I'll go back and solve some things later. Director Bai looked around again and said with a smile, the scenery here is really charming. When I just went up the mountain, I saw Emperor King and a girl walking. Did he find a girlfriend here? Why are you asking about this? Zhang Han was amused. No, number. I'm just a little curious. Director Bai repeatedly waved his hand. She is not his girlfriend yet. Zhang Han satisfied his curiosity, but it may be so in the future. Well, congratulations to Emperor King. Director Bai shook his head and said, by the way, 3 sea-level relics were found in Glanzi last week. Did you hear about this, Mr. Zhang? I didn't know. The 3 remains appeared at different times of the day, and the man with a straw hat appeared again. He had made a breakthrough in the divine realm and killed hundreds of martial artists. I heard again yesterday that the entrance of the original world elite has fluctuated. It is said that it is a sign of the opening of the gate of the small world, and I don't know whether it is true or not. If it is true, then the world elite here in Xuanhuan will soon be opened, too. Said Director Bai slowly. When talking about the Straw Hat Man, he looked serious. After all, he was an evil devil with amazing strength. Although his main body was killed by Gai Xingkong last time, Gai Xingkong managed to do this with the help of another god state strong. Besides, the Straw Hat Man at that time had just broken into the divine realm, and now it seemed that he had reached a higher level. Will it be opened soon? Zhang Han didn't care about the Straw Hat Man. He only cared about the time when the gate of the small world was opened. He knew for sure that for this kind of stable worldlet, there would be a period of buffer with wave formation before its gate was opened. He had planned to explore some relics before entering the worldlet, but there were few relics found in Xuanhuan recently. When the gate of the small world was opened, Zhang Han knew that he would face strong enemies. Perhaps I will give up the 10,000 pieces of cloud at the critical moment. Zhang Han made up his mind. Thunder Yang wood on the top of Thunder Yang tree would mature in about 2 months. Zhang Han was not sure if he could gather 10,000 thunder clouds in this period, and he couldn't afford any accidents. If necessary, he would also consider breaking through the innateness stage directly. They chatted for a while, and then Director Bai left. Zhang Han went back to the hall to chat with the girls. In the evening, they had Korean barbecue in the big restaurant. The ingredients were drool-worthy Kobe steaks and some mutton chops with high calorie levels. Generally speaking, it was better to eat less dinner, and Xian used to do the same, but now, her 3 meals a day were very rich, and she had eaten a lot for dinner. What was important was that she only liked the dishes made by Zhang Han now. She joked that if she went to other places to shoot movies, she would not be able to tolerate it because she would not be able to eat the food from home for a long time. At 9 o'clock in the evening, the family of 3 returned to the 3rd floor bedroom for a rest. Zixia and her roommates were put up at a side villa. It was a quiet night. The next morning, Xian got up early. They would gather at school at 8. So she and Meng began to dress themselves at 6:30 in the morning. Even if they were going to work, they would be the most beautiful workers. All 3 members of the family wore sportswear, and Xian and Meng also wore caps. "Let's go, let's work." Meng raised her little hands and cheered, as if it was fun to work. Xian could not help laughing when she saw this. In fact, the Labor Day activities held in St. Kindergarten did not provide children with any physical work. They just wanted children to experience life. If the students were asked to work for a day, there would be a bunch of students crying and refusing to work next May Day. "Let's go." Zhang Han held Meng up, kissed her, and then put her on the ground. The family of 3 enjoyed themselves and went to the kindergarten in the panda car. "Hello, Uncle Zhang. Hello, Aunt Z." Martin, Stephen and others came to greet them. "Hello." Zhang Han replied to each of them patiently. It was obvious which parent was the most popular in the crowd. To the surprise of many adults, Meng's star mother was not as popular as her father. Looking at the children calling Uncle Zhang carefully, some parents felt a little jealous. "Why didn't anyone come to say hello when I came? Naughty kids. Happy Labor Day, everyone. I'm very happy that all the students and parents can participate in the activities held by our kindergarten. Thank you. Now, please follow me. We'll go to the stadium, and the area has been allocated." After the introduction, Lugo took the lead to the new stadium not far to the right. Many potted plants were placed on the runway in front of the flower beds. After the teachers assigned the tasks, the adults and children were busy working. Meng tried to hold up a flower pot, but it couldn't be moved at all. She muttered as she tried. "Well, there is a lot of earth in it. It's heavy. Don't be tired. Let Dad hold it." Zhang Han quickly squatted down. "Well, Papa, take it slowly, it's heavy." Meng said seriously. "Okay." Zhang Han smiled and nodded his head. Zhang Han reached out his hands, held up a pot of flowers and took the lead to the direction of the back flower bed. Meng followed him happily. Xian, holding a big spade and a small spade, was waiting for Zhang Han to put down the flower pot. Meng asked curiously, "Well, what are we going to do?" "We should do it 5 times to get a little red flower. Dig a hole here first." Zhang Han pointed to a piece of land on the flower bed. Meng picked up the small spade and dug a hole with Xian. Zhang Han took out the flowers and a small piece of soil from the potted plant. Put the flowers in the pit, pour in some water, and then fill in the soil. As Zhang Han said, he directed Meng's movements. All 3 members of the family participated in the movement, which was very interesting. This was also a very simple thing, but some parents didn't understand it. They stood by and observed for several minutes before they understood it and started to work. After everyone planted their flowers, Zhang Han looked around and smiled, not knowing how many of the flowers could survive. Some naughty children even broke up the flowers and put them in the soil. Zhang Han immediately felt his daughter's incomparable cleverness. Meng and the other children were proud to see the flowers they planted. Everyone was full of enthusiasm to receive the little red flowers. Meng, who was obsessed with the little red flower, was overjoyed. After work, everyone went to wash their hands one after another, and this ended today's activity. They arrived here at 8 o'clock in the morning and were busy until 9:30. It took them 1.5 hours. Just at the beginning of the day, after lunch at 11 o'clock, Zhang Han took his wife and daughter out to sea on a yacht. Having a pretty wife and a lovely daughter beside him, he looked like a winner in life. Maybe for ordinary people, this situation was like the peak of life, but the life of Zhang Han and his family was just beginning. From the return of Zhang Han, their road was bound to be long and wonderful. While Zhang Han and his family were playing, today was a day full of expectation for the entertainment circle. Holidays were just one reason. The next day was the time when Pirates of the Caribbean, the so-called big production of Purple Moon Entertainment, would compete with Green Man in Rage made by Ring Avenue. Both of them would premiere at midnight. The box office and movie reviews after the first day would show the merits and demerits of the two works. Too many people were ready to make fun of Purple Moon Entertainment Company. Tonight, I can experience the big movie made by Purple Moon Entertainment Company with 1.5 billion yuan in less than 2 months. Ha ha ha, do you still need to think? If you go to watch it, I'm sure you'll soon fall asleep. Yes, after today, everyone will laugh at Purple Moon Entertainment Company. They have great energy and can pass the examination and file so quickly, but they forget that the most important thing is the quality of the film and TV series. Green Man in Rage, with a cost of 500 million yuan, may dominate the box office in May and even rank at the top of the annual box office list. All the people in the entertainment circle were not optimistic about the film made by Purple Moon Entertainment Company, but because of the trailer and the participants of Xian and Han Yang, many fans were looking forward to the film and believed it could surpass Green Man in Rage. The movie, which involves our goddess and tycoon Han Yang, must be watched and supported as much as possible tonight. It's said that the reason why Green Man in Rage is shown in advance is that they want to bully the movie by Purple Moon Entertainment Company. Originally I wanted to see Green Man in Rage first, but after thinking about it, I decided to support my goddess first. There were many people like this, and this fan effect was very important in the Xuanhuan market. Chapter 657, A Massive Bet. Fan effect was very important, which was also one of the reasons why many films starred by famous actors often earned hundreds of millions of yuan at the box office. As long as the stars had enough fans, there would always be people going to the cinema to watch the films, however terrible the films were. Of course, there were many people who often severely criticized the acting of the stars. All kinds of interesting and eye-catching comments were made and many differences could be found among them. There are 1,000 Hamlets in 1,000 people's eyes, so it was understandable that there would be disputes. Only two kinds of works could get similar comments all the time. Works that were very classic or moving would get the praise of the vast majority of the audience, and works that were very bad where even the biggest fans of the stars would not give them good reviews. Douban was a relatively authoritative scoring platform. In many web pages, the corresponding score of movies and TV shows would be displayed to influence the people's judgment. Human beings were gregarious animals and they liked to follow the trend. Sometimes, when someone found that the public rating of his favorite movie was low, he would wonder if there really was a problem with the movie such that others were not attracted to it. He would wonder if the film was really as good as he thought. When the score was high, he would think that the movie was really excellent and all the movies with a score above 9 were really classic. What was psychologically relevant might just be some very common things. Similarly, box office was an important indicator of the success of a commercial film, as well as the goal of the competition between commercial films. In the case of art films, those with a high value in art appreciation might not reap the corresponding box office. Both Green Man in Rage and Pirates of the Caribbean, releasing on May 2nd, were commercial films. The former was a US $500 million science fiction masterpiece, while the latter had a budget of US $200 million. The box office would decide which one was better. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Edmund was having a party in his villa with some friends and drinking red wine. They were celebrating the victory of Green Man in Rage, ahead of time. There were more than a dozen men and women present, and most of them were relatives of the board members of several Hollywood companies. The force supporting Edmund was very strong, otherwise it would have been impossible for him to dissuade the whole of Hollywood from cooperating with Purple Moon Entertainment Company. This party could be regarded as the gathering of the second generation of the rich. Edmund, how much box office collection do you think your Green Man in Rage is going to get? Asked one of the women. At least $1 billion at the global box office. Edmund was adamant, though I am playing a supporting role, I was given enough time to show off myself in the movie. Wayne played a leading role and the cooperation with him will make me even more famous. $1 billion, it's going to crush Purple Moon Entertainment Company's movie. The others all laughed. What's the difference between a movie made in 2 months and rubbish? They are crazy about money, but they will not only lose a lot of money but also gain a bad reputation. Just like the Chinese say, it is a pity that Purple Moon Entertainment is dead before the ship even sinks. I kind of sympathize with Xian, their heroine. Speaking of this, Edmund took a sip of red wine and said excitedly, Xian is worthy of being the first beauty of the East. She is so beautiful, especially when looking at her in real life, you'll find her incomparable beauty fascinating. It's a pity that I can't have dinner and a good night with her. If I were their male lead, I would not only get close to Xian but also introduce the best team to them. The theme of pirates may be successful, but their leader is stupid and brought about their own destruction. They will be thoroughly defeated by Green Man in Rage. He was very confident about making Purple Moon Entertainment Company regret. He held grudges against Purple Moon Entertainment Company because he often thought of the moment when he was thrown out of the company, which he thought was the biggest disgrace in his life. Now that it was mentioned, his anger was aroused again. After thinking about it, he took out his mobile phone and posted on the largest communication platform in North America. Pirates of the Caribbean was produced by Purple Moon Entertainment Company in just 2 months. It is a joke. Their stupid leader could never make classic films. What the junkies did was just rubbish. He had tens of millions of fans on that platform. As soon as this post was released, many people forwarded it out of curiosity and looked forward to the follow-up of this affair. 1 hour after the post was released, Sun Ming, who was resting at home in Hong Kong, received the news. He was not happy because the news had been reported by many local media and had caused a heated discussion online. Sun Ming was silent for 10 whole minutes. He was always cautious, so he intended to hit them with facts when the box office results would be announced. But he spent a long time with the people in the security corps and had become bold under their influence. Therefore, he chose to call his son, "Come home now, something's up." Half an hour later, Sun Donging quickly returned. After a few minutes of discussion, Sun Donging logged into his social networking platform with his tens of millions of fans and released a piece of news. My father is the president of Purple Moon Entertainment Company. In response to the news released by Edmund, the North American movie star, I just want to say that only garbage can send those slanderous and useless trashy words, and dare not to face us. What a coward he is. Clatter. We're going to see some fun. Many netizens found out about it at the first moment. In this era of the internet, the news released by Sun Donging was soon known by Edmund. Edmund was annoyed and replied on the platform, "It's funny. Let's see how my Green Man in Rage will crush the Caribbean worms of your company." Sun Donging only replied, "Okay, let's wait and see." It showed his determination to win. The verbal battle began. Edmund thought that he was the dominant party and posted without hesitation, "Wow, it seems that someone who failed to invite any special effects teams is very confident in their film. Dare you to make a bet with me? Though Purple Moon Entertainment Company is rich, I also have a lot of money." Sun Donging was amused and replied without asking Sun Ming for advice, "How much do you have? How much do you want to bet? A sum of less than 100 million is a joke to me." Sun Donging referred to the RMB, which was less than 15 million US dollars. But Edmund thought that he meant dollars. What a stupid rich man the Purple Moon Entertainment Company's boss is. Among Edmund's fans, there were many people who were paying attention to the news when they saw this talk about gambling. Edmund, do you dare to bet with Purple Moon Entertainment Company? Everyone couldn't help but start discussing. If they do bet, Edmund, you have to give us a bonus. But he said that a sum of less than 100 million is nothing. He should be referring to 100 million US dollars. He wants us to step back and show off his strong capital strength, whether he has so much money or not. His words have earned him enough dignity. What a good plan this is. The problem is that with our pocket money, even when pooled together, is far less than a $100 million. But Edmund hasn't reply, as if he is afraid. In my opinion, he can offer an even higher price and let them give up voluntarily. However, no one would believe that Edmund has the money if the offer is too high. When he heard this, Edmund, who kept changing his facial expressions, sneered, I can ask my uncle about it. The cost of Green Man in Rage is $500 million, far more than the 2-month junk movie produced by Purple Moon Entertainment Company. His words attracted the attention of many people present. If you really gamble, then people on the same front as Edmund would make a lot of money. I can also contact my brother, and my father will certainly support me in helping Edmund. I don't have to ask for instructions. There are already $20 million in my bank account. A man wearing glasses said, I think Edmund should reply first. Perhaps they are just pretending to be rich. If they agreed to bet with us, we can raise the money. But how can we make sure that they keep their bets? We take this matter seriously, but their default will also affect us. It's simple. Edmund waved his casually. Did you forget that Citibank has this service? We just need to pay them 5% of the profit. Don't hesitate anymore. Tell him that we have $200 million and ask them if they dared to gamble with us. All the details were quickly fixed by them. Therefore, Edmund replied without hesitation, you guys from Purple Moon Entertainment Company are not only stupid but also arrogant. Now that you want to gamble, I can put out $200 million right now. Do you have enough money? Let's talk to the head of the Citigroup if you dare to bet with me. Hiss. Other people all gasped upon hearing that. They thought Edmund was really rich enough to gamble $200 million at will. They didn't know that Edmund and his friends had raised the money collectively. As Edmund and his followers were guessing, Sun Donging jumped up from the sofa instantly when he saw the news. Damn it, they are so rich. Sun Ming was a little dizzy when he heard the news. See you at Citibank. Sun Ming also knew that there was such a service, which was safe, and he had never heard of any mistakes yet. But the problem was, they dared to bet with us, but what about us? Sun Ming hesitated and couldn't make a decision. The company had enough money, but he dared not use it as a bet in private. Even though he thought that he would win, he would be the culprit of the company's loss if something went wrong. After thinking about it for 10 minutes, Sun Ming checked the time and found that it was already 9:30 p.m., time for Meng Meng to go to bed. After thinking about it, Sun Ming dialed Xiao Feng's number. Hello, Xiao Feng, there's something wrong here. I'll send you a message now, take a look at it. Shall we inform the boss to make a decision? After a brief explanation of the situation, Sun Ming asked Sun Donging to send all the relevant information to Xiao Feng. After about 10 minutes, Xiao Feng called back. How is it? Asked Sun Ming. Then he heard Xiao Feng's calm voice. I just met with my master. He said that money was not a problem, but $200 million was too little. We would only bet with them if they offered $500 million. The funds are all in the company account, and Uncle Sun, my master wants you to do whatever you think is right. I see. Sun Ming replied in astonishment. It's scary to bet so much. On the other side, Zhang Han was amused by what Xiao Feng had told him. In his previous life, he heard that Green Man in Rage was a famous money-losing movie in the history of Hollywood and that it flopped badly at the box office, all because of its plot. In spite of its excellent special effects, many people gave up their idea to watch Green Man in Rage in the cinema. Of course, the failure of this movie was also because of the challenge from Transformers in the same period, which had a greater impact on the audience and earned itself a better reputation. Transformers would be released in the summer, while only Green Man in Rage would be released in May. Zhang Han remembered that in his previous life, Pirates of the Caribbean made nearly $700 million at the box office in 2003, when the film market was not very hot. Now, Zhang Han didn't know how much the box office of the film would be improved or how many people would be attracted by the enhanced special effects. Zhang Han didn't want to refuse the money sent by his rivals. While Zhang Han's men were busy preparing for the bet, Edmund and his men were sneering at them. They are all cowards and fools. I said that they were pretending. They will fall into silence as long as we reply firmly. It's funny. We just had some serious discussions. In fact, we don't need to think about it at all. How would they get so much money? Suddenly, a man with short-sighted glasses looked at his mobile phone and cried out, "The latest news, they agreed to bet. $500 million? Am I dreaming? Huh?" Swoosh. Everyone took out their cell phones and looked at the platform, only to find that the person they had just followed released a sensational piece of news. "Edmund, you want to bet, don't you? Okay, $500 million and my sword has been shown. Dare you to bet with me? $200 million is too little, it's so boring. If you dare, let's have a talk at Citibank." He added a screenshot of his account to the message, which showed a stunning array of numbers. They're ready with $500 million. At the same time, this screenshot caused an explosion of discussions on the internet. It was amazing, however unbelievable the balance amount of this account was. It was real. It showed just how rich Purple Moon Entertainment Company was. There were many rich enterprises, but this was the first time that many people had seen such a fierce competition among these enterprises. Edmund and his group were all stunned. Fuck. Edmund gnashed his teeth in hatred. How dare they? Why are they so bold? No matter who they are, we have to agree now. There are a lot of people paying attention to this matter. Anyway, we have to continue, lest our dignity be damaged. $500 million, we. Another man asked hesitantly. He didn't want to disturb his elders, but they couldn't collect so much money without their elders' help. A man at a relatively higher position said in a deep voice, "Contact them, we will win this fight and there is nothing to worry about." "Yes, don't worry, we will win." Edmund echoed. Then he took the lead to stand up as he took out his mobile phone and began to contact someone. These youngsters' force might not be enough, but the forces supporting them were beyond imagination. $500 million was collected in half an hour. Edmund, a little excited, grinned and showed a screenshot of his account. "Come on, arrogant Purple Moon Entertainment Company, let's go to Citibank and have a chat. Do you have the phone number of the person in charge?" Sun Donging, who was paying attention to the news, immediately got excited and replied in full spirit, "Come on, I'll get in touch with Mr. Smith now." Edmund felt a little nervous at the sight of Smith's name. They are serious. In fact, he wanted to stop the bet, because such a big bet made him really nervous, but it was too late to regret and he called Smith immediately. The line was busy. 5 minutes later, when the phone was connected, Smith replied that he already knew about the bet and asked for a video conference in which both parties agreed to sign an electronic contract and transfer the money on notice. An online meeting started. Sun Ming in the video connection was calm, while Edmund was arrogant. Looking at the others who were communicating in English and speaking very fast, Sun Donging was a bit worried. He regretted that he hadn't studied English properly. He knew English but he couldn't keep up with others. He watched Sun Ming chat with them, sign a contract, transfer money on the spot, and then heard a lot of people on Edmund's side say fuck. He raised his middle finger and said fuck you to Edmund. They fucked each other for a few minutes before the video was hung up. Smith felt that their war was on the rise. It was true or there wouldn't be such a big bet, but he didn't care about the outcome of the bet, because the fees were enough to make him happy. The night before the movie was released, a big bet began. Zhang Han didn't pay much attention to all this because he already knew the results and money already meant nothing to him. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Zhang Han hugged Xian and Meng Meng. Oh no, Xian and Meng Meng hugged Zhang Han and fell asleep slowly while immersed in his story. Zhang Han also fell asleep easily and happily. But a lot of people lost sleep that night. Edmund and his group were paying close attention to the matter. On the other side, Sun Ming, Sun Dongying, Zhao Feng and others were also paying attention to it, but they were confident and didn't feel nervous at all. At 11:15 that night, more than 20 people came out of Star Moon Bar led by Ah Hu and Liu Jiren. On Labor Day holiday, Liu Jiren flew to Hong Kong as soon as she could to spend some leisure time with Ah Hu. They felt so happy being together after confessing their love to each other. There were many familiar faces in the crowd, including the long-lost instructor Liu who was bursting in high spirits. Zixia and her classmates were also among them. They met 5 male classmates in the bar, who had also come to play in New Moon Bay. The girls didn't know how to refuse them. They went to the next low-rise building and took the elevator to the 5th floor, where there was a large cinema and a video game hall. Only the theater was still open at this late hour. What movie? Asked one of Zixia's male classmates. Nonsense, Pirates of the Caribbean, of course. Zixia replied without hesitation. But I heard that Pirates of the Caribbean is made in a hurry and has poor quality. We bought the tickets for Green Man in Rage. The young man's answer immediately attracted a lot of attention. He was a little nervous to see so many people looking at him. What's going on? Go on your own. We are all here to watch Pirates of the Caribbean. Zixia said. Ah, so many of you are watching the same movie? Well, we'll join you but we should buy the tickets first. That young man replied. He didn't want to be alienated but he regretted that he couldn't go and see Green Man in Rage, hence he decided to go the next day. After going upstairs to buy the tickets, they saw a big crowd at the door of the cinema preparing to enter the screening hall on both sides. There was a slightly bigger crowd waiting for Green Man in Rage, but their presence immediately reversed the situation. They entered the cinema hall and sat for a few minutes before the movie began. After the cinema advertisement and the promotional video of Purple Moon Entertainment Company, the featurette started. A low accompaniment sounded. There was a white fog on the screen, and a light children's song came from nowhere. It was quiet and mysterious. Pirate? All the male students were attracted and slightly narrowed their eyes. Buzz! A huge ship came to them with the sound of the real waves and the creaking of the ship's shaking. They stared intently at the screen. After the appearance of 2 little actors and elegant royal officers, under the gaze of the heroine, a strange ship suddenly appeared on the sea looming in the vast white fog. It was the Black Pearl, a pirate ship. At this moment, all of Zixia's classmates, including herself, were thrilled. They were having goosebumps all over. Chapter 658, Capital Competition? The truth will come out once an expert puts his hand to it. The film attracted the audience with just a few scenes at the beginning. There were about 50 people in the movie hall. At the beginning, some of them were still talking in a low voice. Gradually, the hall fell into silence. All the people even forgot to eat the popcorn in their hands and watched the movie with full attention. Swish. After the close-up of young Elizabeth's pupils, Xian's beautiful eyes appeared on the screen in an instant. It was the Elizabeth who had grown up. Lying on the bed, she suddenly opened her eyes. Her blonde hair and blue eyes seemed to be innate, making her look like a real foreigner. Only her face still showed the unique charm of an oriental beauty. She is gorgeous. Many people exclaimed silently. Zixia, in particular, was looking proudly at her excellent and beautiful sister. Why is Elizabeth so beautiful when she grows up? Many people thought so involuntarily. Even a young man who came here with his girlfriend could not help whispering, Xian is so beautiful, she has completely changed my view of beauty. He forgot that his girlfriend was sitting right next to him. Fortunately, the girl was also attracted by the film and didn't notice what he had blurted out. If she had noticed it, he would be pinched again. Elizabeth got up, The room was so dark that it was not clear whether it was day or night. When Elizabeth picked up the pirate gold coin, everyone in the movie hall felt the mysterious atmosphere. Knock, knock, knock. Elizabeth's father came in with a maid, opened the curtains and let daylight flood the room. The view outside was beautiful and it could be seen that the building was located at the seaside. As the plot continued, Elizabeth put on her sexy clothes with the corset and met Turner on her way to the party. Jack, the protagonist, appeared with a fierce attitude while was riding a small boat. The audience burst out laughing. After landing, he appeared to be experienced with all his actions and expressions. Before that, Jack saw the pirates hanging by the dock and took off his hat to pay homage, so the audience knew that he was also a pirate. Is he a villain? Many people thought so and subconsciously thought that this might be an outdated hero. After the royal funny duo appeared, there was a new burst of laughter in the hall. But when Elizabeth fell into the sea from a high place and the gold coin disappeared in the sea, buzz, a low roar spread out, and everyone could see the whole sea vibrating. A strong shockwave was spreading to the depths of the sea. The audience thought that it was a special effect and began praising it. Everyone was attracted by the plot and watched the film with all their concentration. They saw the arrival of the pirate ship Black Pearl, the transformation of the arms of the pirates into skeletons under the moonlight, the horrible picture that Elizabeth saw after boarding the ship, and the last scene in which a group of pirates walked underwater and stepped into the moonlight area to become skeletons. The deep accompaniment and suffocating rhythm were stimulating the audience's senses. In the end, the Royal Navy won and Captain Jack was to be hanged. Many in the audience felt sorry for him and cried within them, "No, he is a hero." When Turner appeared, everyone realized that the plot might be reversed and Turner would save the protagonist. They guessed right. Turner took action but Jack was still caught. At this time, there was another reversal as Elizabeth saved the protagonist while Jack fell into the sea. He saw the ship capsizing in the distance and smiled. The audience was relieved. At this time, on the wall, Turner kissed Elizabeth. All the people were stunned. Wow, Xian's kissing scene. Is she herself? It seems to be. Everyone was discussing it in astonishment. Finally Jack got on the boat, looked in the distance and said in a low voice, "The free side, the real villain, let's drink a lot, brothers." After he finished his last sentence and closed the compass, the movie was finally over. But everyone knew that it was not the end but a new beginning. Just as the audience stood up with admiration and prepared to walk out while recalling the plot, suddenly the screen lit up again. End credits. All the people stopped and saw Barbas's monkey pick up a gold coin from the treasure cave. Its skeleton was exposed in the moonlight. All of a sudden, the monkey screamed and ran to the screen. Then the screen turned dark. So naughty. Many people were scared, including Zishia's classmates. After standing in place to confirm that the movie was really over, they left the hall one after another. There was a hot discussion going on outside the hall. "Wait, Shia, we saw your sister's kissing scene." "Yes, yes, it seems to be the first time. My God, Sister Xian made a great sacrifice for this movie. Who is that lucky dog?" Zishia stared at them when she heard this. "A lucky dog? Turner is played by my brother-in-law." "My brother-in-law, can you hear me? Really? Turner is played by your brother-in-law?" "Hiss, it's unbelievable. I forgot that Turner and Jack are played by the same person, but they looked totally different." "He's your brother-in-law." "Wow." 3 little fans nearby were shocked. Just now, they were still wondering why Sister Xian had broken her promise about kissing scenes after she got married. Unexpectedly, the 2 roles were played by her husband. He is amazing. He turns out to be Han Yang, the talented composer. The 3 young girls almost fell in love with Zhang Han. For them, the kissing scene in the movie just now was too romantic and it even made them yearn for it very much. The boys next to them were also recalling the wonderful scenes in the movie. The skeleton arms and the scene of walking on the sea floor were flashing through their minds frame by frame. So cool. They hurried to take out their mobile phones and show off to their friends. "I've just seen Pirates of the Caribbean, which refreshed my aesthetic values. It's so cool. Captain Jack is so good. I'm in Crescent Bay." Fortunately, I met my classmates and went to see Pirates of the Caribbean together, otherwise, I wouldn't be able to enjoy such a wonderful movie. It's amazing. I'll go to the cinema again in the daytime and watch it the second time. As for Green Man in Rage, I'll wait a few days until I calm down. He attached a torn ticket of Green Man in Rage to the text. He couldn't help it. The entry time had passed and this movie ticket had become a piece of waste. They took the elevator to the first floor. "Shia, where do you live? Shall we play cards or something?" One of the boys tried to invite her. People love beauties. Zishia was also a pretty girl and there were many young men trying to pursue her at school. They all hoped to be the lucky dog that met Zishia's appetite. However, as soon as the young man finished speaking, bam! Xuanhuan, who was standing on one side, kicked his ass lightly. Xuanhuan said half jokingly and half threateningly, "Are you up to no good? Do you want to play cards this late at night? Our eldest lady is going back to have a rest." Looking at Xuanhuan, who had a ferocious tattoo on his arm, the male student gave a slight shiver and replied with a smile, "Okay, we won't play cards. Ha ha ha." Zishia was amused. Blinking her eyes that were similar to Xian, she took a glance at Xuanhuan and then at the male student and said, "Where do you live? Let's get together tomorrow." "Well, we live in a hotel on the North Street." The male student replied. Although they were all tourists, not everyone came from a rich family such as Zishia. Those young men who were not so rich had chosen cheaper hotels. "Oh, the North Street is a little far from here." Zishia nodded her head. Xuanhuan smiled. "Shia, your classmates can stay in this hotel if you want to play with them tomorrow." "Ah?" Zishia was surprised, and then said, "It's all right if it is convenient for them." The young men thanked her and stayed there. When they heard that it was an employee hotel, they thought that there would be many people in every room here. But when they got to the room, they were startled by the luxurious decorations. They all thought that Zishia's background was very complex, but they were suddenly told in the chat with the two female students that she was Xian's younger sister. No wonder she is so beautiful. It turns out that her genes are very good. Just like this movie theater, 90% of the midnight audience in all the movie theaters were for these two movies, namely, Green Man in Rage and Pirates of the Caribbean. Among the audiences who chose to go to the cinema at midnight, 50% wanted to see Green Man in Rage. They exchanged feelings the next day. Pirates of the Caribbean, great. The special effects are incomparable. It's Xuanation's turnaround battle, the curse of the Black Pearl, the first kissing scene of Xian, the goddess. The two lead roles in Pirates of the Caribbean are played by the same man. Han Yang is not only a talented composer, but also a talented actor. He performed with Xian and kissed her. He's a real winner. This series of news and film highlights appeared together on the Hot Topics list on the internet and the movie quickly received a wave of praise. But after all, the number of people who saw it at midnight was still very small, which made most people curious as they prepared to watch Pirates of the Caribbean in the daytime. Many people's conversation topic soon changed from "Did you eat?" to "Did you see Pirates of the Caribbean?" As for Green Man in Rage, there were also many comments and hot discussions. "I'm so disappointed. Is this really a $500 million movie? It's just mindless fighting. The special effects are good, but the plot is terrible. I just saw the fights for no reason and then the movie was over. They are extorting our money. They think that good special effects can make up for all the shortcomings." Clatter. The result of this contrast was a strong stimulus to people's nerves. The score of Pirates of the Caribbean was still rising, and all the major scoring websites gave it a score higher than 9 points. However, the score of Green Man in Rage fell to 8 points in less than half a day and was still declining. Edmund and his group were nervous. All the people who took part in the bet got together again. but this time not for a celebration. As they were frowning, I saw Pirates of the Caribbean and Green Man in Rage this morning. I have to admit that Pirates of the Caribbean is very successful with excellent special effects and a fascinating story. As for Green Man in Rage, it was lacking many things. A brush-cut man said in a deep voice, "Edmund, I know you don't want to accept this conclusion, but that's the truth." Looking at Edmund, who was furious, a woman advised him, "I saw the movie this morning. Their special effects are no worse than that of Green Man in Rage, and feel even more natural and real. It could not have been made by ordinary teams. They must have hired a top-level Hollywood team. Damn it." Edmund slapped the table hard. "I'll punish them severely once I find out who they are. It's no use saying that now. Let's wait for the box office results from all over the country of the first day. Maybe we can get a surprise at the box office." For commercial films, box office performance was the most important and public and critic evaluation was only the second. They were really surprised by the box office results. Around the world, their box office collection was the highest in more than half of the nations, but right after them was Pirates of the Caribbean and the gap between them was very small. It was the first day for the two films. The next day, in most parts of the world including North America, they lost to Pirates of the Caribbean at the box office. On the third day, Pirates of the Caribbean topped the box office collection in all places. Its Hot Topic Index also ranked high in many regions of the world. The whole Hong Kong film industry was very excited because the locally produced film even won against a Hollywood film. The fourth day, the fifth day, up to the seventh day, after a whole week, the box office collection of Pirates of the Caribbean were twice as high as that of Green Man in Rage. In the first week, the box office collection of Green Man in Rage went down sharply and never recovered. Edmund, the producer of Green Man in Rage, the gamblers, and the elders behind them, were all nervous. The producers, in particular, couldn't help blaming Edmund's uncle for his involvement. They were not bullying others but instead being bullied. On the eighth day, Edmund, the gamblers, and their elders came together to discuss. They had an hour's negotiation and the whole process was seemingly casual. Edmund's uncle held up his glass and said, "For our victory. Cheers." On the other side, Edmund said with a smile, "After all, money speaks the most in this world. Purple Moon Entertainment Company is doomed to fail. However successful you are at the box office, you can't afford the $500 million. The profit of $500 million was enough for many people to do a lot of things." In the second week, the box office list of all regions in the world was once again dominated by Green Man in Rage. At the same time, it had received far more favorable reviews in various regions, more so than Pirates of the Caribbean. In the third week, Liu Qingfeng came to Hong Kong to take over Purple Moon Entertainment Company temporarily. He made plans and gave orders as swiftly as an ancient general. In China and the other areas related to Liu Qingfeng, the box office of Pirates of the Caribbean had been breaking the record and there were no empty seats in all the theaters. The same situation occurred in Singapore and some other places. Liu Qingfeng said, "Don't you want a capital competition? Come on." Bang! Edmund's side was furious. A box office battle broke out. In the first week, the total global box office of Pirates of the Caribbean was $200 million, while that of Green Man in Rage was $120 million. In the second week, Pirates of the Caribbean gained $300 million, while Green Man in Rage gained $500 million. In the third week, the box office of Pirates of the Caribbean was $700 million, while that of Green Man in Rage was a bit more than $600 million. In the fourth and last week of the agreed time limit, the global box office of Pirates of the Caribbean had reached $2 billion, while that of Green Man in Rage reached $1 billion. It was crucial to note that the box office of Pirates of the Caribbean rocketed up on the last day. Edmund and the others who were ready to celebrate were stunned. They were taught a cruel lesson by their rival in the capital competition. In 1 month, Pirates of the Caribbean gained $3.2 billion, while Green Man in Rage earned $2.22 billion. All kinds of expenses, including handling fees, derived from this huge asset were high. Especially the $500 million lost. Originally, they planned to pay all kinds of fees with the $500 million they would win from the bet, and the remainder would be their profits, but they didn't expect that Purple Moon Entertainment Company to win in the end. After the first month ended, Citibank confirmed the news and then transferred $950 million to Purple Moon Entertainment Company's account, because they won the bet. What shall we do? Edmund was pale, limp, and sweaty. He was at a loss and didn't know what to do at this moment. He couldn't afford the nearly $2 billion invested by many parties and the $500 million he lost on top of that. His uncle was smoking a cigar with a poker face, who after some time, walked slowly to Edmund. "Pa." He slapped his nephew mercilessly. Edmund fell to the ground as he bled from the corners of his mouth. He was stunned. How is this possible? How can a new company be this powerful? Edmund yelled at his uncle. It must be a trap. We have been framed. They can't be so powerful. Edmund's uncle listened to his rant with an indifferent look. In the end, he replied in a cold voice, "Stop dreaming. Do you know how many forces they are related to? Do you know why we give up in the end? You are too naive with a low IQ. We can't win even if we doubled our money in the face of their cooperation." Bang! Edmund looked like he had been hit by lightning. His uncle continued, "You are solely responsible for the loss you have brought to the family. You're on your own now." Then he left with the same poker face he displayed. The same thing happened to Edmund's friends, who now all hated him very much. They shouldn't have been involved in such a thing or they wouldn't have to pay so much. Chapter 659, finally it comes. Edmund was deeply remorseful. Why did I challenge others? Why did I go to Hong Kong for the so-called audition? It was unreasonable. He was so sure that Purple Moon Entertainment Company in Hong Kong would want him at that time. Everyone in his position would think so, because he came from a big family in Hollywood while the other side was only a newly established company. What was more was that the other side was going to shoot an epic magic film. Given Edmund's identity, he should have been the guest of honor when he came to audition for the lead role. He had never expected the situation that actually occurred. He lost face and lots of money. $500 million was more than 3 billion yuan. Fortunately, they had strength in numbers. The $500 million was put together by many forces, hence the losses were also shared by them and any one of them could still afford it. However, in addition to this sum of money in the bet, they also made a lot of follow-up investment, including buying the higher position of the box office income list. Although most of the costs could have been offset by profits, there were still many remaining expenses. Roughly speaking, Edmund lost nearly $1 billion in this capital competition. As for Purple Moon Entertainment Company, the $500 million made from this gamble was enough to make up for their follow-up investments. Combined with such a good publicity effect of the box office results, the box office collections of Purple Moon Entertainment Company's film in June would still be very high. A lot of people were jealous of them. Despite such a big loss, Edmund's family and many Hollywood giants were reluctant to admit defeat. Ring Avenue invited the chairman of Purple Moon Entertainment Company to meet at their headquarters on 1st of June. This piece of news spread quietly after Edmund's defeat. Clatter. Those words were like a stone toss that created 1,000 ripples. A lot of people realized that this might be Ring Avenue creating more trouble. They have always been very domineering. How can they be willing to suffer losses? When the news was spreading outside, there was a formal invitation letter on Sun Ming's desk. It was sent by someone from Ring Avenue who said that with the achievements of Pirates of the Caribbean, as chairman of Purple Moon Entertainment Company was qualified to attend such a party, and he should be very grateful and looking forward to such a party. After the suited man finished speaking, Sun Ming pondered for 2 seconds. "I'll make a call." It was noon, so Sun Ming called Zhang Han directly. After being connected, Sun Ming directly spoke in the loudspeaker mode. "Chairman, right now the person from Ring Avenue is in front of me. He wants to invite you to a party at their company. I have no time for it." Zhang Han replied and simply hung up. When Zhang Han heard the word chairman and Sun Ming's later words, he realized what was going on in Sun Ming's office, but he didn't care about his rivals. "You heard it too. Our chairman has no time." Sun Ming shrugged and looked at the suited man with a darkened face. The suited man felt that he couldn't sit there anymore. As the world's top film and television enterprise, their company had a good reputation in the entertainment circle worldwide. However, Purple Moon Entertainment Company just treated him in such a way. He suddenly understood that maybe it wasn't all Edmund's fault. These guys are so arrogant. Do they still want to make a living in the movie circle? Unfortunately, he didn't know that Edmund had thought the same way and was finally thrown out. "Mr. Sun, your company has just been established and you may not be clear that you will have to cooperate with us in Hollywood in the future. I remember that last time, the Lebanon Film and Television Company in Indonesia was also tough, but they were finally banned by Hollywood. Our partners are all over the world. I think you should think about it clearly, this matter." Sun Ming waved impatiently. "I don't have to think about it. Can't we make a movie without Hollywood? Pirates of the Caribbean was our own work, but it still defeated your Green Man in rage. Don't be so arrogant. If you continue to say stuff like this, you won't be allowed to enter the gate of Purple Moon Entertainment Company in the future." Yong, it's time for him to go back. Hearing this, Xuyong walked over and looked coldly at the suited man, whose facial expression were changing. "Please, you." The suited man nodded heavily, seeing Sun Ming looking at his computer and ignoring him. He choked on his unfinished words and went out with a red face. After he left, Sun Ming shook his head slightly and sighed. "Not everyone can accept your arrogance." This was Sun Ming's speaking style. In the same situation, Ahu and the others would have said, "You are in the wrong place." Everyone's way of expression was different but the meaning was the same. Sun Ming knew what kind of attitude Zhang Han, his boss, would show because Zhang Han didn't care about it at all. He accompanied Xian and Meng every day and had no time or interest in managing other things. Sun Ming still remembered that after the establishment of the company, Zhang Han had never come to the company alone to ask about anything. As they all knew, he didn't care at all, and would not feel depressed even if the company went bankrupt. Every time he came to the company, he only came to accompany Xian. "We can beat Hollywood movies." Sun Ming chuckled proudly and felt satisfied when considering the strength and influence of Hollywood. He didn't care about other nobodies. As for Zhang Han's family of 3 had gone to Macau not far away. The city was not big and there were no spacious streets or traffic lights. However, every time a pedestrian stepped on the zebra crossing, all the vehicles would stop and let him or her cross the road leisurely. This was the result of the integration of Chinese and Western culture over 400 years. The streets and alleys of Macau were all in different styles, but they didn't seem to be too attractive for Meng. They played from morning till night. When they went home on a yacht, Meng seemed to only remember the pedestrians who could cross the road safely without traffic lights. In terms of scenic spots and historic sites, Meng was deeply impressed by the Song City of Xihang and the lofty Forbidden City of Shangjing. After the Children's Day, Meng started going to kindergarten again. Zhang Han and Xian were now very relaxed. Originally, Xian's film production cycle used to be from half a year to a year, but now she had made such an excellent film in less than 3 months. Xian couldn't help but exclaim that her husband was so powerful. Because of Xian's first kissing scene, many people rushed to her and Zhang Han's Weibo and asked, "What's your relation?" Xian was amused by their comments and hot discussions. Instead of logging onto her account with 50 million fans, she took Zhang Han's mobile phone and logged onto his account, only to find that the number of Zhang Han's fans exceeded 80 million. Xian left a suspense for the curious fans. Take a guess. Then she posted a picture of the shadow beside the street lamp in the night. It could be seen that it was a man and a woman holding hands. The woman had long hair and a slim figure, while the man was taller. This news shocked all the fans. Damn it, what's that? Is Han Yang her boyfriend? Oh, no, will I get any chances? Favored 0.5 million times. How shameless the one above me is. Favored 1.01 million times. There were all kinds of comments. Some guru even said, Xian is 1.75 meter tall, while the shadow on the ground in the photo is 1.83 meter long, which shows that the angle of the light is 37.6 degrees. The man beside her is 1.84 meter tall and symmetrical. According to the heights of Xian and Han Yang on the stage of Chinese New Voice, I conclude that this person is Han Yang. What do you think about it? 6.21 million favored. There were various kinds of responses to him. I'm reading it on my cell phone. I'm reading it with my eyes. I'm reading it in the toilet. Zhang Han liked to see Xian's occasional pranks. It was proven that a husband and wife could always be as happy as Zhang Han and Xian were. With his strength, Zhang Han didn't really care about anything else and remained calm most of the time, so there were fewer troubles for him. For most men, who were not as powerful as Zhang Han, they would face the trivial problems and pressures of other things every day. They could also feel happy by taking responsibility and acting as a real man. A successful man was charming. Like Zhang Han, he didn't use any special means, but all the members of the security group and his friends followed him wholeheartedly. June was bound to be an unsettling month. In the entertainment circle, many cinemas were full because of the box office battle, and lots of people chose to go to the cinema in June to enjoy the well-known film. So the box office income was still rising, until the end of June. The total global box office income of Pirates of the Caribbean reached $4.9 billion, breaking all kinds of records and becoming the highest in the global box office history. It was far exceeding the second film by $2.1 billion, but if the cost of $3.2 billion was deducted, it should still be second. But no one knew if the former #1 film really deserved the position. Even if these $3.2 billion were removed, the box office income of Pirates of the Caribbean was still in the top 5 in the global film history. The $3.2 billion was a large sum of money, but with the help of Liu Qingfeng, all the big families including the Luo family in Hong Kong, the Zhe family in Singapore, and all the related families to the Chamber of Commerce, Zhang Han could easily afford $10 billion. The cooperation of so many forces was amazing, and it was not something that ordinary people could fight against. Edmund and his men regretted as soon as they knew about it, but it was too late and they lost a lot of money. Zhang Han also knew about these numbers because Zhao Feng told him, and he had a discussion with Liu Qingfeng, who was invited to the castle for dinner. But the box office income still surprised Zhang Han. In Zhang Han's previous life, the box office income of the top movie was less than $1 billion, and it had won many nominations at the Oscars. Now, Zhang Han felt that he could replace the word nomination with award. At the beginning of this month, Ring Avenue gave up on Green Man in Rage, which cost them too much. As a top company, they were already planning to promote the next film. Although Pirates of the Caribbean won a great victory, the foundations of Purple Moon Entertainment Company was still weaker than that of Ring Avenue. Purple Moon Entertainment Company became popular because of this movie, and its status rose. As one of the contracted actors, Sun Dongying also became popular. He began a weekly internet broadcast and attracted nearly 10 million people each time. Undoubtedly, he became the big brother in the internet broadcast circle. Zhang Han's recent daily activities were to send and pick up Meng and to accompany Xian. He often inquired about whether there were any relics found, but no new relic had appeared all over the world. Before this, there would often be news of new C-level or D-level relics. However, a whole month later, he felt as if the world's relics were all hidden. Something special is going to happen. Zhang Han vaguely felt something, and he was looking forward to it while feeling some pressure at the same time. July 30th, Sunday. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Meng Meng, Martin, Lehman, Wang Yihan and Stefan were playing happily in the nursery area. Xian was accompanying the parents on one side. Li Kai, who liked to flatter Zhang Han, had learned to keep quiet because on the way here, he saw a large group of people in high positions, such as Patriarch Chu, Patriarch Luo, and Liu Qingfeng, who made him tremble. So scary. After thinking about it, Li Kai felt that he should not show too much enthusiasm or these famous people might dislike him. Xian was receiving them with cold drinks, fruits, and some snacks on the table. Generally speaking, the guests would just taste them, but now they couldn't help enjoying the fruits, which were different from those bought from the market. Yes, it was not the first time that they had tasted the fruits here, but they couldn't resist the temptation of the fruits and thus looked forward to visiting Zhang Han with their children. Zhang Han was on the other side. On the table sat Zhang Han, Chen Chenqing, Tanan, Wang Zanping, Jiang Yanlan, and Wang Ming. There were only 6 people, but the atmosphere was heavy, because they received a piece of news. The gates of the world lit were shaking violently. The news is true. At 3 to 5:19 yesterday morning, Kunlun Mei's crater was suddenly covered by fog and the fog was then lifted up, which later divided into 5 parts as they fell at the entrance of the world lit. All the gates fluctuated violently and lasted for a whole hour. Yi Tanlang said that the world lit would open in a month. Hiss. Wang Zanping, Wang Ming, and Tanan gasped in astonishment. Swish. Zhang Han's eyes lit up as he murmured to himself, "Finally it has come." He had guessed right and the world lit would appear soon. He was looking forward to it because he was going to meet his parents. But he was afraid at the same time because he didn't know if his parents were still alive or not in the world lit. If they were dead, then he would destroy the whole world lit. At the same time, there was also some pressure. In front of the world lit, he was still not powerful enough. It's still not enough. Zhang Han sighed silently. Must I break into the divine realm stage now? There were only 4,000 thunderclouds above his soul sense sea and he needed 6,000 more to accumulate 10,000 clouds. Maybe, there's another way. Zhang Han thought as he looked at the space ring in his hand. There was a gem left by his father in it which recorded a secret place that couldn't be explored before he reached the divine realm stage. Now Zhang Han had no other choice. Of course, that was what he expected. If there were no relics or space for promotion, he would go and explore the secret place that his father left behind. The Wind Snow School was also very concerned about that secret place. He would go before the gate of the world lit was open. The more dangerous the place was, the more likely a treasure would appear. So these were all in Zhang Han's plan. Everyone else fell silent when they heard the news. They were all shocked. Wang Ming sighed, "It's time for me to really explore the world lit. The return of the world lit will disturb the order of the world. We will have to go through this period after all." Wang Zanping shook his head slightly, "But the world lit is not very terrible. So don't worry too much." What Wang Zanping didn't say was that as long as Zhang Han was still the Prince of Heavenly Knights sect, it wouldn't be easy for him to get into trouble. However terrible it might be, I'll always protect all of you. Wang Zanping made up his mind. Chen Chenqing didn't care about it and calmly said, "No matter if it's the world lit or the relics, they have nothing to do with me. I only know that I will tear up all our enemies." Emperor King was confident in himself and his brother Han. Perhaps he had never said these kinds of arrogant words before, but ever since he learned all 8 Drought demonic dragon taught by Zhang Han, he had become more self-confident. Chen Chenqing felt that this world was under his feet and he had opened up a new chapter of cultivation. In fact, it was just the beginning of the benefits brought by the all 8 Drought demonic dragon. In any case, the National Security Agency will be busy after the world lit appears. Zhang Han Yang, I think you should consider joining the senior management of the National Security Agency, otherwise, they won't challenge the Wind Snow School for you, a small director. Jiang Yanlan said in a deep voice. Taking a look at Xian and Meng Meng, she tried to persuade Zhang Han, just think about your family, you should protect your beautiful wife and lovely daughter. It's the best option if you join the senior management of the National Security Agency. She didn't know that Zhang Han was the Prince of Heavenly Knights sect, or she would be shocked senseless. Lieutenant heard her words and forced a smile. Captain Jiang, I'm also here as a director. I feel so embarrassed now. I'm telling you the truth. When you're as powerful as him, then you can also join the senior management of National Security Agency. Jiang Yanlan glanced at Lieutenant. All right. Lieutenant smiled and then looked at Zhang Han. I'm in Hong Kong, and I'll help you because we are friends. However, if the other side is beyond our imagination, then I won't risk my life. Okay. Zhang Han smiled. He didn't care about it, but he would like to thank Lieutenant for telling him the truth in advance, which was better than breaking the promise half the way in. Jiang Yanlan kept asking Zhang Han after seeing his relaxed expression, how about it, Zhang Han Yang, you'd better take it into consideration. You have a lot of potential, but there are even more powerful people in the world, and those at the Earth realm stage are only the backbone. Besides, there are also countless strong people at the Heaven realm stage. Thank you, Captain Jiang, but he won't change his mind. Chen Qingqing shook his head. Knowing that Jiang Yanlan would keep the secret, Chen Qingqing told her, Brother Han is the Prince of the Heavenly Knights sect and his father is the young master of the Heavenly Knights sect, while his grandfather is Jiang Wang of the Heavenly Knights sect. There is no use joining you. Ah? Jiang Yanlan frowned in astonishment. The Prince of Heavenly Knights sect. Chapter 660, Meng Meng's possessiveness. Jiang Yanlan was very clear about the kind of force Heavenly Knights sect was. A super sect. At the beginning, it was one of the top forces in Kungzu World, but it was said that later it fought with the Wind Snow School for unknown reasons. The Wind Snow School was ambitious and occupied 5 worldlets after many years of development. Its main sect was in the highest position in the southeast of the Sensorine world. The two forces fought against each other and no one won the war. Heavenly Knights sect was still stable in the Kungzu world in the Central Plains, but every time there were relic explorations or disciples who came out to practice, the two sides would seize the opportunity to fight and never be merciful to each other. The war was consuming and Wind Snow School was larger than Heavenly Knights sect, though Heavenly Knights sect was a hard bone to swallow for Wind Snow School. The latter would eventually win the protracted war, regardless of the cost. After years of consumption, the overall strength of Heavenly Knights sect had declined and it had lost its highest position in Kungzu World. However, Wind Snow School could still persist. It wasn't until Zhang Shenwang of Heavenly Knights sect and the leader of Wind Snow School went to fight in the mysterious place but didn't return that the crazy war subsided a little. Even so, the two forces had been fighting each other for years and could not reconcile easily. Some people had calculated that the two forces had been fighting for over 50 years and the new generation of disciples would even become sworn enemies. No one knew the specific reasons and no one could change the current situation even if they knew it. Now, the gate of the worldlet was about to open. Jiang Yanlan believed that Heavenly Knights sect would not be destroyed and perhaps the subsect of Wind Snow School in the Kungzu world was likely to be in danger of destruction. Many martial artists in the main world were focusing on the war between Heavenly Knights sect and Wind Snow School, but Jiang Yanlan was more surprised that Zhang Han Yang was the Prince of the Heavenly Knights sect. His grandfather is Jiang Shenwang, and his father is the young master of the Heavenly Knights sect. No wonder he is so talented and powerful, his background is so amazing. Jiang Yanlan looked at Zhang Han in surprise because he had both excellent strength and amazing support. Just at this moment, wow, Lanlan, why are you here? An excited voice came from a distance. Swish. Jiang Yanlan turned around and grinned at the elated instructor Liu. How dare you show up in front of me? Jiang Yanlan jumped up. In the past 2 months, Jiang Yanlan had beaten Instructor Liu 5 times and Instructor Liu had fought back at the 6th time. Jiang Yanlan saw that Instructor Liu was like a loach as he slid half a meter sideways at an unexpected angle, and then they heard a sound, pa. Jiang Yanlan felt that her ass had been spanked. She was furious. Just as she was about to fight back, she saw Zhang Han, Chen Chenqing, Ziyan, and Meng Meng passing by. Instructor Liu walked over to them, picked up Meng Meng, and said repeatedly, "Meng Meng is so cute, how can you be so beautiful?" Looking at Meng Meng in his arms, Jiang Yanlan dared not take any actions and her expressions froze. She was almost spitting blood in anger. Jiang Yanlan's gritted her teeth as she watched Instructor Liu swagger away, but her face turned red when he saw the crowd laughing around. In the following days, Jiang Yanlan went to Star Moon Bar early every day and would wait to beat up Instructor Liu, but this guy seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth after that small victory. At this time, Jiang Yanlan was as furious as she would be as if facing an archenemy when she saw Instructor Liu. However, Chen Chenqing noticed her abnormality and warned in a low voice, "Meng Meng and her friends are playing over there." Jiang Yanlan's expression froze again. "Ha ha." Instructor Liu burst out laughing. He felt so comfortable now. But he forgot that Jiang Yanlan was at the Grandmaster Peak stage. "Okay." Jiang Yanlan gave him a meaningful smile. "Let's go to the front mountain." Whoosh. Her body moved. "No, boss, help me." Instructor Liu was shocked. But he was immediately carried away by Jiang Yanlan to the front mountain and was no longer able to speak. During the struggle, Instructor Liu hugged Jiang Yanlan's long legs with both his arms. Captain Jiang turned even more furious. Soon there was a cry of pain from somewhere near the front mountain. All the people sitting in the back mountain heard it very clearly. "Well, is he okay?" Wang Ming's mouth quivered a little. It sounded like Instructor Liu was almost beaten to death. "Don't worry, she'll control her force." Chen Chenqing smiled. "She has done this many times." Ha. Lieutenant shook his head slightly and said like an experienced man, "Maybe they will fall in love with each other after all these battles." He forgot that he was also single now. The others, including Zhang Han, shook their heads and smiled. They could also see that Jiang Yanlan's attitude towards Instructor Liu was different because she didn't want to kill him. It was true that Instructor Liu, who was specially treated by the famous Captain Jiang, was very special. What made them notice the difference was that every time she beat him, her expression would be weird. Eyes were the window of the heart and they were looking forward to seeing a special romance develop. However, the most important thing now was to face the coming worldlet. Zhang Han thought about it for a while. When he was about to say something, Meng Meng ran towards him from the back. "Papa, come here." Meng Meng stopped 5 meters away and waved to Zhang Han. "I'm coming." No matter what happened, Zhang Han would go and find her immediately as long as Meng Meng called him. Zhang Han stood up and walked towards Meng Meng with a smile. "Papa, squat down." Meng Meng raised her head, pursed her lips, and reminded Zhang Han. "Okay." Zhang Han caressed Meng Meng's head with a smile and squatted down. Meng Meng's brought her head close to Zhang Han's face and he thought that the little princess would kiss him. However, he heard Meng Meng ask in a low voice, "Papa, how can you sit with other women and leave Mama alone over there?" Swoosh. In an instant, all the people at the back table took a look in Zhang Han's direction. They were all Wu Dao Grandmasters and God State Strongs. However faint Meng Meng's voice was, they could still hear her question clearly and feel her confusion and anger in their eyes. Meng Meng was asking, "What's the matter with you? You dare to sit and chat with other women? Are you tired of living?" Of course, this was their own inference. Puff, ha ha ha. Wang Ming almost coughed and turned back to hide his smile. Everyone else was also laughing and thought it was funny. Even Zhang Han's lips were twitching slightly. The little princess was really domineering and sensitive in this respect. Zhang Han still remembered that the last time the front desk attendant of the hotel came close to him, Meng Meng had waved her little hands to keep that girl away. In her mind, Papa only belonged to Mama. It showed Meng Meng's possessiveness, which meant that she cared about Zhang Han too much. Well, Zhang Han was amused and whispered, "That aunt is here to work and not to chat. We were just talking about work." "Really?" Meng Meng blinked her big eyes and thought about it. 2 seconds later, she asked doubtfully, "What's the work? You don't even have any jobs." In her opinion, Papa was always with her and never went to work. Only her mama went to work and usually came back late. Papa had always been around her. Zhang Han didn't know what to say. He realized that Meng Meng was telling the truth. After thinking about it, Zhang Han smiled softly and said, "Papa doesn't work because I want to accompany Meng Meng." Zhang Han just wanted to give an explanation, but Meng Meng was satisfied with it. "Wow, Papa is great, I love you." Meng Meng cheered. Meng Meng felt happy and proud as she kissed Zhang Han several times on the cheek. Ha ha ha. Zhang Han laughed and clapped Meng Meng's back. "Go and play with your friends." "Okay." Meng Meng turned her head and ran back quickly. A few children were running and playing around happily beside Dai on the ground. They found that no toys were as interesting as Dai. Zhang Han looked at Meng Meng running away and smiled as he shook his head. He was proud to be able to give his daughter a carefree life, and he had been working hard for it. Although in the eyes of outsiders, Zhang Han was very relaxed every day, but they didn't know that Zhang Han had been stretching the clouds above his soul sense sea, which was tiring and painful. He had been doing such a high-intensity activity and had no time to rest. But Zhang Han knew that it was something he had to go through before he reached the innateness stage. Building base was the foundation of cultivation. If Zhang Han had a good foundation, his road to the highest stage would be smoother. Zhang Han was also ambitious, and 4,000 clouds were not enough for him. Zhang Han returned to his seat and went on with his business. He looked at Chen Chengqing, pondered for a while and said, "I'm going to a place. Even martial artists at the divine realm stage will be in danger there." After hearing this, Chen Chengqing laughed and said without hesitation, "I'll go with you." Wang Zanping and the others were all moved. In their eyes, Chen Chengqing and Zhang Han were like biological brothers, and Zif's existence made them unable to be separated. They all knew Zif and Xian were like biological sisters. "Well, if even those at the divine realm stage will be in danger, then I can't join you, right?" Wang Zanping shook his head slightly. "Yes, all of you don't have to follow us. I'm grateful if you can help me guard here." Zhang Han replied, "This is what we should do. We are a family." Wang Ming patted Zhang Han on the shoulder and said, "Take care of yourself if you are going to explore that place. We will guard your house." "Okay." Zhang Han smiled and took out his father's gem. He stabbed into it with a huge amount of soul sense and easily broke the layers of seals. Clatter. When he focused on the inside of the gem, he suddenly found that he seemed to be in a starry sky, and the beautiful earth was in front of him. At the next moment, he saw everything suddenly move, indicating that he was falling towards the earth at a high speed. He was able to see the outline of Hua Nation that looked like a rooster, but his destination was Russia. He continued to fall rapidly, toward the middle of a mountain range at the center of the northern ice sheet, where there was a lake. He fell into the water and went down tens of meters till he finally reached the dark bottom of the lake, and saw a seal among 3 boulders. Here was the entrance to the dark abyss.